Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Gun Culture Radio. The sponsor for this podcast is SDI, Sonoran Desert Institute. You can check them out at sdi.edu. It's a really cool opportunity if you're interested in being a gunsmith. They have some other firearms technology degrees. Just check out their website. They do take GI Bill. So any veterans out there, it's a cool opportunity. You know, you can't hate a job, in the gun industry. I assume a lot of people listening to this show are gun nuts just like me. It's cool to be able to have a job doing something that you love. Turning a hobby into a job is the true American dream. It's not 2 cars in every garage and a white picket fence. It's having a job that you love. That's the American dream right there. And that should be everyone's dream. And that should be the human dream, not just the American dream. Anyways, check that out, sdi.edu. Really appreciate them for the sponsorship. This show is not cheap to make. So anyways, appreciate that and hope you guys enjoy the show. I really appreciate having Federal Ammo on as a sponsor for this show. They've been a great ammo company for a lot of years. They're really good about working with new media, which I feel like says that they are very on top of things and very with it for a company that has been around as long as they have. And they just have a wide range of selection when it comes to ammo. Everything from their Federal Champion brand, which is a really good, affordable ammo for practice at the range. They also have their American Eagle brand, which is just a really good, middle-of-the-road, high-quality ball ammo, practice ammo, defense ammo, whatever you want to use it for. And then they also have really high-end defensive ammo and hunting ammo with premium bullet technologies and all the good stuff. You got the full spectrum with Federal Ammo. They always seem to keep a lot of it in stock, and it's easy to find. Just a great, great company. Really happy to have them on as a sponsor and really appreciate them. We also appreciate our other sponsor, Ballistol. As you guys probably know, we've used this stuff for a long time, long before the YouTube days. It's a cleaner and a lubricant. It's great on firearms. It's even good at preserving firearms. If you have an old gun with a little bit of rust on it and you want to get that rust off with some steel wool, but you want to do it smoothly without further damaging the finish any more than you absolutely have to, Ballistol works great for that. It's also good just in the house. It works great for leather furniture, wood. It really darkens it up and makes it look really rich. It's just a really great and overall multi-use lubricant, and it really protects all your metal, keeps it from rusting. It's a great product. Used it for a long time and really appreciate them supporting the show, and I hope you guys appreciate that too. And just check them out at ballistol.com. Hope you guys enjoy the show. All right, so we're back on the radio again. Derek's here.
Happy to be here.
You guys have never seen Will before.
Hey, how's it going?
But he's also here.
Okay.
I am present.
It's an another remote location.
Yes.
Somewhere in Eastern Europe. Yes.
Yeah, we flew him in.
Boy, are my arms tired.
Yeah.
That's right.
Oh, he did not just do that joke.
No. I had to. It was there. Sorry.
No, it's
I formally apologize.
I think I've even heard Bill Hicks do that joke, so he wasn't above doing that joke.
Yeah, no, it's a classic. It works from time to time. So.
You see, like that version of it is not as bad as the so I'm single now. Boy, are my arms tired.
Yeah.
Okay. That was a joke.
I'm
grenade.
done. I'll see you guys.
I just now got that joke. Thank you. That was a joke grenade.
And you jumped on it, so good to go. Thank you. Appreciate you for that one.
I just got it.
If I hear the I flew in, my arms are tired, I'm like, oh, okay, that's just a reference to a classic joke. The other one, it's kind of like,
no.
This is family. This is a family show now.
You didn't make that up. No.
That's just like horrible plagiarism. That's not even.
Oh yeah. So we're going to talk about something important. I forgot what it was. No. The police chief of DC.
Yes.
Did something really cool. Now, I've read that she notoriously is anti-gun. All this. Of course, it's DC.
It's DC.
DC has some of the strictest gun laws. But it's great though that she, and then I think some other people may have said similar things too. In a mass shooting event,
active shooter
event, like the people who are there are the first responders, and that they should try to do something. And she said, take them out if you can. And of course, she's talking about a gun. I mean, are we gonna?
Yeah, police have
I guess.
A slingshot.
Police have found police have found that the best way to deal with an active shooter, you got to confront them immediately, because after what's the place in Colorado?
Aurora
Denver?
or Columbine?
Yeah.
Columbine. Columbine. The standard police procedure was to surround the place, get your force ready, then go in. Problem with that, while you're getting your people together, people inside are getting killed.
Yeah.
So they found that they rethought that best way is to get in there as quickly as possible.
Because that's based on hostage situations, which we're used to for the past 20, 30, whatever years.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it's not like that anymore. You know?
Active shooter, somebody's got to confront this guy ASAP.
Yeah.
Only problem I got with what DC chief said was that you don't know who's out there with a weapon. Some people are more proficient than others. So,
I totally agree. And like you said, the liability of it. It's not just the proficiency of it all. It's what if somebody gets antsy, even if it's not, if you think there's about to be a shooting. Well, I thought it was going to be a shooting, so I started shooting, and congratulations, it's now a shooting.
They're actually just filming a movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
You stumbled onto a movie set, and now everyone's dead. But,
and when the police show up, we'll see who's the real active shooter and who ain't. I mean, So,
but I don't know. I guess once the bullets start flying from a general direction, I guess at that point, if you know that something's going down,
if it's obvious,
if it's obvious that
as anything like anything else to do with a weapon, it's got to be perfectly clear.
Right. Mm-hmm. And a lot of cases it would like in the Aurora shooting in Colorado, if people are getting just taken out by some crazy guy coming in a theater and they're getting shot all around you, it's like try something. If you have a gun, no matter if you got training or not, just
don't get shot. Just don't lay there and get shot.
Yeah, exactly.
Even if you fired a round in the air, not that you should do that, shoot at the guy, but even if you did that, it would make the guy go, "Oh, what's going on? Somebody's shooting back."
I just saw a psychological study on these active shooters. They found that there have been occasions where active shooters were stopped by unarmed people.
Yeah,
the fact that someone confronted them was enough to stop these guys. Because most of the time, these guys are cowards. That's why they went in there shooting down unarmed people in the first place. But they found that usually the first time that these guys are confronted, either they give up or kill themselves.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of time. Well, this is different maybe with the Paris thing and stuff, but they don't tend to be like militant type people.
No,
a lot of times,
exactly.
It doesn't.
No, a lot of times they just seem to be people that are just basically off their rocker.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like there's just something slightly off with this individual, and he got a hold of the right rhetoric and fired him. You got him all fired up, and then he went and did something stupid.
Right.
Emotionally disturbed person, you don't know. Don't know. So again, confronting him, which is okay. I think the official policy is if you can get away, get away.
Yeah.
If you can't, barricade yourself somewhere, and then only as the last resort, confront the guy. Because again, if he's gonna kill you anyway. Go after him.
Part of it, people need to have better information, I think, because, like for example, if there's a fire, we all know like what kind of in general we're supposed to do. We've been had that beaten to our heads our entire lives in different scenarios like this, but we don't ever talk about really mass shootings unless it's like in a political way. Very often, it needs to be more of a mainstream concept of what bullets do and what kind of things can you actually hide behind, and stuff like that could save lives too.
A lot of companies like the other job, they're talking about they have active shooter classes. A lot of your corporations, your businesses are now training employees on what to do if an active shooter comes up because you got to be realistic.
Right.
That can happen now in today's world. It does.
Yeah, it does.
And you got to be real, especially when somebody's fired. Companies have procedures on what to do. This guy was fired, depending on how it went down.
Yeah,
you got to behave a certain way, and which is better than what we used to do, which is not think about it.
Yeah,
you can't do that.
Not anymore. It's not even an option. I mean, it's not really out of sight, out of mind anymore. It's an actual threat.
Right. And of course, their solution to this is to ban guns. And even in Paris, they were talking about gun control.
That was I heard that some conservative talk show host that confronted CNN because the other guy was like, "Guns, get rid of them," and the guy's like, "Dude, look, California, some of the strictest gun laws in the United States. Those people got all the weapons they needed." Yeah. Paris has some of the most restrictive gun laws in the world.
Right.
In fact, in Paris, a policeman could not carry his weapon home at night.
Yeah.
That's changed
crazy.
After the Paris shootings. Now police can take their guns home. Oh, good idea.
Yeah,
good idea.
Hey, that's a long time coming. Whatever.
That's ridiculous. Just going like, I'll go pick up the gun today before I go.
Well, I mean, it's like that on military bases.
Yeah.
Yeah, got to get there early, get a good one.
No, you got to get there. I mean, you got to get there, get down to the armory, sign out your weapon.
Which is a myth that a lot of people who don't have military backgrounds think that everybody on a military installation is armed. No, they're not.
No, they're not at all.
You ain't got your M4 just sitting around in the car. No.
Yeah.
It's locked up somewhere in the armory.
Yeah.
And
Well, I mean, you base housing if you have personal weapons.
they have to be in the,
Be in the armory. They're not allowed to keep them in your home.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you're not allowed to have the only people that are allowed to be armed on a military base is
The MPs.
the MPs and the
QRF.
and every once in a while after 9/11 when I was in, some of the gate guards had rifles.
Yeah.
But it was, I mean, it's once you're inside, man, it's a shooting gallery. There's nothing anybody can do about it.
Do you get to keep your own rifle, or is it kind of just
No, it's the armory.
The armory, your military issue weapon.
No, I'm saying like, is it like the same one though? Is it like still your rifle even though it's in the armory, or is
It's
it just,
assigned to you.
or is
Yeah,
it-
it's assigned.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
the armor.
You're assigned for that weapon.
Yeah. Okay.
And if anything happens, that's your butt.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like it is in the movies where my serial rifle is and once you get out of boot camp, you don't have to memorize that anymore. But no, I mean, it is your weapon. Yeah.
I was thinking, I wonder if they just like, oh, you need an okay, here you go. Here's just a random rifle, you know.
When you first get there, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
It's like, you just here, John, all right, that one here.
But once that's done, that's
That's
your
yours.
rifle
Yeah.
until
That's yours.
you.
And if you deploy, you get real intimate with it. You just sleep
right
with
there in
you,
the sleeping bag next to
That's
you.
right.
Yep.
So, for 13 months, baby. So, hey.
Oh yeah, talk about, because people don't have an idea who you are yet. Talk about your experience in the military. And,
Oh yeah, I was a 4-year former Marine, was out of Cherry Point, with the most schizophrenic unit ever. I did do 6+ months in the sandbox back in 2003 during the initial hostilities of Operation Enduring Freedom, Iraqi Freedom,
One
somebody's
of them,
freedom
yeah,
somewhere,
one of them.
global freedom. I've got a medal. I got a ribbon at the house that says I was there. So, but yeah, when I went, it was Operation Enduring Freedom, and then it turned into Iraqi Freedom, and
Iraqi
and I was supposed to get a Global War on Terrorism ribbon, but I didn't get one because I got an OIF campaign. I don't know, but anyway, I did my 6 months in the sandbox, and then they let me come home because stop loss was off. So, yeah, I'd tell everybody had 4 years and 2 months active duty because I had stop loss. So, but yeah, so that's my military background right there. So
okay, cool. Man. Oh, what else was I going to say about that? I kind of cut that conversation off.
it's all good. So when people think I'm some random idiot just so in
Yeah.
a Rebel Alliance T-shirt, what's he know? Like, did you fly in from Bespin? Like, yeah, no.
This guy seems to think he knows a little bit about the military.
Yeah, exactly.
some
Rebel
reason.
scum.
Oh yeah, there you go. Oh my god, I cannot wait for the new Star Wars.
Oh, don't even get me started.
Don't even
dude.
go there.
No, do not even.
Wait a couple of days.
Yeah,
I
no,
was
see,
trying-
this podcast is pretty much just going to go that direction at this point if you bring that up. 'Cause I'm like, oh, dude, and then there was this trailer and that trailer, and did you know this? Yeah, I'm way too big a geek for you to start that conversation.
Well, we
and
can't-
on a time limit.
We can't tie what we're talking about into that. I think security will be out the butt
Oh yeah,
for this premiere of the new Star Wars. I mean,
Yeah, I think you
got to. I
No,
mean,
no.
it's going to be one of the biggest movie premieres probably in a really long time.
Well, they're saying it's going to be the largest, probably the highest grossing movie of all time.
I could see that because like pretty much everybody's going to go see it.
Yeah.
oh yeah.
I mean,
but they gotta stay alert because what Batman, The Dark Knight, when they had a shooting. Yeah, that's what
The
they did.
Dark Knight
The green
Rises,
hair guy.
Well, yeah, but
Colorado.
the guy that did it was orange haired. Like
Yeah,
he was like,
you're right.
I'm the Joker. The Joker never had orange hair. I've read most of the comics and seen all the movies. I never saw an orange haired Joker.
he was trying to get his own thing started.
Yeah, no kidding, right? Yeah.
He was being original.
And based on that,
Yeah.
hopefully they got some security out the butt there because because of the event and what we're and the hoopla behind it, you have got to be safe. You
Yeah.
got to.
Let's just all go see it together and we'll all carry guns.
Everybody strapped up. Okay, before the movie starts. All right, everybody see this. All right,
Yeah,
okay, everybody got one. All right, let's
Let's
roll
keep it
movie.
civil in here, all right? Jedi on that side, Sith on the other. Let's just keep it calm.
Oh man, we should start like an organization where we have like all gun people go see like movies together. You know,
Oddly enough, that theater's never been shot up once. I don't understand why.
Dude.
Well, what about this? This thing was in Nashville, Tennessee, where they're getting rid of the gun show.
oh yeah, did you hear about that?
I heard that, but then again, I heard that they weren't. The guy was bringing a lawsuit.
Well, they're gonna fight it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they tried to. They voted to do it.
Because supposedly the district attorney found that there had been a couple of shootings where the person that the suspect had gotten weapons that were purchased from the gun show.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
I mean, the gun show's been that show has been there for over. I said 30 years, but Dad said he bought a gun way back in the 70s, and that it's
I thought it was 35 years because you're Bill Goodman's Big Gun and Knife Show. 35 years, you know.
Buy, sell, trade.
Buy, sell, trade. Sunday. Yeah. So I mean, of course, Bill Goodman's all over everywhere, but. You know, I thought it'd been 30, 35 years, and with a fairly, you know, it's like nobody gets shot at a gun show. Like that's, you know.
They're talking about the just the revenue loss that the city of Nashville will lose.
No, that's ridiculous.
I mean, the show has kind of gone down really over the past few years. It's not as good of a show, but it's just ridiculous. They're going to close it because of a public safety risk. I mean,
okay, East Nashville. Oh yeah, everything that goes on over there is fine.
Yeah.
But let's stop the gun show because of something that might happen.
Yeah.
Again, I saw FBI stat from this is off subject. FBI stat from the last survey they did from 2013 in Chicago. They had 35 to 40 people a day killed, murdered.
Yeah.
And by gun violence. And nobody's protesting, nobody's up in arms.
Because it's gang violence and nobody wants to talk about that.
They accept it.
That's a good part of it, yeah.
So I don't get that. I mean, the gun show in Nashville, Tennessee, where nothing ever happened, shut it down, get rid of it.
Yeah.
I think because it's easier than confronting some of these other problems they face.
I think really what it's about is because of these shootings have happened. It's the same thing. Like after Sandy Hook, there was a bunch of gun shows that got yanked off the air and different things like that, like TV shows. It's about Nashville looking like, oh, look how progressive we are in light of these new situations that have happened. Let's get rid of these those old gun shows. That's nobody really.
That's old school.
Yeah.
I'm here to tell you, a few people go there.
There's a few folks.
There's one down there this Sunday.
The last one, I think. Yeah.
Well, I don't think it's going to be the last one because I'm pretty sure places like that have contracts.
Right.
And you can't just up and go, we done changed the law, so your contract's null and void. No, it doesn't usually work that way.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just going to drive it. I mean, it's just going to go somewhere else anyway. It's going to stop showing up. It's this panic, this overwhelming, it's knee-jerk reaction to every time there's, and you know what? That's like the Washington Post. There have been 355 mass shootings this year.
Oh, my God.
Really? 355?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there was that kid in Hoboken that shot those 4 people with a BB gun. That counts.
Yeah.
And it does. In order to get 355, that's what you have to do.
Supposedly, if 4 people were shot in the same area, then it counts as a mass shooting.
Okay. That's sensationalism. The TV is
across the board.
Exactly. I mean, TV's these news shows. Unfortunately, they're more about ratings and facts.
Right.
Yeah.
So again,
and you mix that with any form of an agenda, and it's a recipe for you just just complete misinformation because they want to shock and get something done about it, and it's just
like we were talking about. I think before you got here, I was watching this clip from The View.
Okay.
Right. And they were talking about it was like from recently, and after the California shooting.
Right after San Bernardino, it sounded like,
And Whoopi Goldberg is talking about
I'm sure she does a lot about weapons.
Oh yeah,
oh yeah, she's a genius. Listen to this.
Yeah, so she's talking about like why would anybody need a 223 assault rifle? That's not for hunting. You're not going to shoot a deer with that. There'd be nothing left. It would go poof into dust.
Yes, the main ingredient of the common deer is
dust. Yeah. It's just they're all dry and crispy on the inside. I don't think anybody would hunt them in the first place.
I was like, wait a minute. I shot a squirrel with a 223 and it just ran away.
Chucked an acorn at my head and walked off.
Yeah.
Okay, I will say this, as we said with any of these other big events, is that that's some of the biggest thing in the world for the gun dealers. Gun sales go way up.
Yeah.
And I think that's why certain people have a problem with having weapons, but most people don't. In fact, I read something on the way down here from Tennessee. Most Tennesseans don't want no changes at all to do with gun laws in the state of Tennessee.
Yeah.
So I think that, you know what, that sounds good. And if you have an agenda, you're right. But
and then on the media, they'll say the opposite. Like so many times I've heard them say, most gun owners want, they want responsible, common sense gun.
There you go. You needed the catchphrase. Common sense gun law. Common sense. It's like listening to Max Headroom.
I mean, it's the most ignorant thing you could ever say. I don't care what point you're trying to make. If you're talking about a political issue, if you use the words common sense
at any point, we're done with this conversation.
You're not talking about something like it's common sense to not rape children. It's I mean, unless you're saying that, then it's ridiculous.
Because once you're past the fundamental point, like you just made, not everyone is going to even come close to agreeing on what common sense is.
Exactly. Common sense is not common.
Yeah, it's not. But and to not put too fine a point on it, as gun owners and gun nuts. I think is the term I'm supposed to. As gun nuts.
What kind of nuts? Cashews?
I like to think of myself as a nice smoked walnut. I think that's one of those you get at Christmas in a special wrapping. That's what I like to think of myself as.
If we leave out for Santa,
exactly. But no, I mean we've given in on common sense gun laws time and time and time again, and it's every time we do. Somebody else wants to. We'll just do this. We'll just do this and
more
just do
common
this.
Sense, yeah.
More common sense and more common sense. And after a while, you're common sensed into being completely disarmed, and that makes literally no sense.
Yeah.
We've talked about this 100 times. The law-abiding citizens are the only ones that will obey gun laws. I think last time we were on the show, Chicago PD in the first 6 months of this year confiscated over 3,200 weapons.
Oh yeah.
So and they weren't legally bought; they were illegal weapons out there. So the criminal element is not going to be phased by any kind of gun law.
No.
I was watching another online. I think it's actually it's a news segment that somebody does. A friend of mine actually works with this person, but he gave out a statistic, and I haven't had a chance to verify it, so I'm not going to throw it out like it's gospel. But he gave out a statistic that this was in Texas. I think they kept track of this. The people in Texas that had concealed carry permits had a lower criminal record, period.
Yes.
Jaywalking, speeding tickets, stealing a pack of gum, whatever, had a lower criminal record, period, than the cops in Texas do.
Wow.
Okay, all right, that's good.
The cops, there's a higher arrest rate for cops than there are people who have carry permits.
Because of the responsibility of having
it's so much can get you to, so much can cost you your carry permit. You know what I mean? So you're very, very aware of what you're doing and what laws you're breaking or not breaking because you don't want to lose your right to carry.
Yeah, it's so easy to lose your carry permit, make a mistake, or you don't want to pull that gun out in a situation where
exactly.
No.
Exactly. It's too easy. Brandishing a weapon, you'll get a charge like that.
Oh yeah, you got to really feel like someone is up to no good. They're really, it's a true threat, to you and stuff.
We've hit on that before. For too many individuals, their weapon is a safety blanket, security blanket. I like having it, but if you wave that thing around, or you threaten the wrong person, you are done.
Yeah,
it's over.
And this is cliche, and I'm sure it's been said a million times, probably even on here. I don't really want to shoot anybody. I've never grabbed my gun and thought today is the day I'm putting holes in folks. It's not really something I want to do. I'm the guy that carries spiders outside and puts them back in the garden. I don't really want to do harm or damage to anyone, but I'll be absolutely darned if I will let someone do harm or damage to me. And that's the whole reason. That's the only reason I have it.
Right. And my thing is not necessarily a huge. I mean, no one wants to die, but it's not based on I'm just so terrified that I could get hurt or die. It's kind of like I don't want to feel like I'm just gonna die and not feel like I did something to try to prevent it.
But for me, it's not even that. For me, it's not even worried about me dying. It's someone I love, something around me.
Yeah.
If you think that you're going to do something to someone I care about and I'm not going to have a way to stop you, and if I do have a way to stop you, I'm not, you probably should just go ahead and check yourself into a rubber room because concept of reality is horribly skewed.
And I don't want the feel like he's getting away with it.
Exactly.
You don't get to come in here and shoot a bunch of people or try to shoot me. I'll shoot back.
Really? She just tried to kill me. This is no longer a conversation.
People will victimize you if they get the chance. They will victimize you. And the best way that what I tell people when they ask me, "Why you carry all them weapons?" At the other job, why you carry all them weapons? Because I'd rather have it, and not need it.
Yeah.
Rather have it.
No, that's a given.
Yeah.
I was trying to explain this to somebody the other day. I have a lot of friends who are, I'll use their term, gun control nuts. And they're like, well, we don't need this and we don't need that. And I started breaking it down for them. And I was like, he was talking about power and like how we need government and this and that and the other. And I was like, so why do we need government? Well, the answer is to keep people from doing bad things to one another. We need something to keep society together. I said, so basically, we're basically just a bunch of monkeys running around, and without a government in charge of us, we're going to start shooting each other, right? And he was like, well, yeah, pretty much. And I was like, well, then that's why I need a gun.
Yeah.
The argument gets so, once you get into these people's arguments and you start actually looking at them, they become so unbelievably circular.
Yeah.
That at any point, if you just slash that circle, the entire thing just unravels in front of you, and there's no fall. They have no fallback because
it's not based on like a real solid foundation of reason. Usually.
It's not. It's based on made up numbers and sound clips from this person or that person or the other person who's got an opinion on this. People on The View turning deer to dust with a 223.
People that you hear on those shows, it is painfully obvious they've never even held a weapon.
No, they're terrified of
talking
them.
about it.
To me, the only gun control argument, like if you're trying to make an argument for gun control that I think has any basis in reality and has some kind of foundation, which I disagree with it fundamentally, but at least I'm like, I can respect you if you think this. If we ban guns, over time, we will eventually limit the number of guns that exist, and as enough time goes by, then maybe there'll be slightly less violent acts because there'll be less guns, or at least less shootings. Okay, that at least has some basis in reality, but the problem is, who wants to sit around and wait a couple hundred years and be victims?
How many people are going to be How many people are going to be victimized while we're waiting for this calmer, more peaceful time to come?
My response to that, and again, it's cliche. But yeah, that not selling stuff on shelves has worked really well for cocaine.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there's no cocaine in this country right now because they don't sell it at Walmart. And if you don't sell it at Walmart, nobody can get their hands on it.
Yeah.
So even that falls apart. Like it just, I don't understand why people can't get. Criminals don't care about the law.
That's right.
It's inherent in earning the title criminal. Like it's something you have to earn, and you have to not care about the law to get that title.
Great Britain, they no weapons allowed there.
Oh yeah,
high rates of knife crime.
Some guns, but not many. Yeah.
Well, you're sub,
hold on just a second. I am so mad at you right now.
That's right. So some guns, muzzle loader,
flintlocks.
I need to clarify something. He was loading a muzzle loader.
For any misinterpretation that might be out there.
Well, there was the gunpowder. You saw it.
That's what was happening. That was a demonstration of a muzzle loader. It's an old gun, and that's what that was.
Yeah, you pour it down. You have to pour the gunpowder down the barrel, and there's a rod that has. It's a perfectly fine pantomime.
Keep in mind the kind of show this is, boys and girls. But in Great Britain, where they have limited guns. Their big problem now is with knives. People are stabbed, sliced. Crime is still the same. The crime levels are still the same. It's just they don't have weapons to commit the crimes with. Right. It's all about the knife now. And they traded one weapon for another one.
Yeah, and you may not have. That's another interesting thing. Like, at what point is it actually more important if several people die at one time versus like the same amount of people stretched out? Right? Like that's one thing I don't get. Like why is that more important? I mean, I get how it's more tragic.
Shock value. No,
exactly.
It's shock value. That's
more
the
shocking.
only reason it's more important is because they can use it for shock value to get, again, the agenda that they want pushed through by shocking people. Oh.
That's why plane crashes are so shocking because so many people die at once. That's why it's so shocking. Onesies and twosies, it happens. That's life. 14, oh my God.
Yeah. Well, you were talking about the knife violence in Britain. The knife violence in Britain. And this is one of the things that it just brought it to my mind. When you hear them argue about let's be honest, the left about gun control, those folks.
Some of their defense, there are some liberals that like guns.
There are, but I mean, when I speak, I'm talking about the left wing gun control crowd.
Right, yeah.
Not all left. I agree. Not all. I have some friends that are left wing that love their weapons.
Or maybe are you talking about that they?
Yes. That they. But anyway, you know, when they start, the politicians, the left wing politicians, and the people that are pushing the whole gun control agenda. When you don't hear violence. They don't use the word violence by itself. In order to make America seem like such a horrible nation, and we have to get rid of all these weapons, and our gun violence rates are so much higher than everyone else's. Yeah. Gun violence rates. Because if you compare our violence rates, they're better or at least comparable to every other developed nation. So, you know, it goes back to and then this is one of the things, it goes back to the whole Archie Bunker argument. You know, would you feel better if they were pushed out of windows? Like, death is death.
True. America, gun violence may be high compared to other countries because we have a right to bear arms here. Other countries like Australia, Britain do not.
Yeah.
So yes, gun violence.
Slashing each other with machetes.
Yeah, gun violence is going to be higher here because everyone has most people have a right to carry a weapon here. So you have to expect that.
Yeah, and we also shoot the right people sometimes.
That's right.
Yeah. But that was the point I was making. You have to call it gun violence because if you just call it straight violence, if you just compare the crimes per country, the crime as this is murder, this is rape, this is theft, this is assault, the numbers don't give them what they need.
True.
They have to put the word gun in front of it. And yes, we do have a higher gun violence because, we are allowed to carry weapons here.
Yeah.
Good weapons. But, you know, the whole point is they have to put that gun in front of it to make it sound like we're a much more violent country than all these other people because of the guns.
Years ago, I read a book called The Gift of Fear. The premise of the book is that in America, there's more fear than actual violence. There's more we live in fear. Places like these, people that we talk about promote fear. But is the level of fear what we make it in America?
Yeah.
And I think the answer is no. The violence levels in America have been going down for years.
Oh, yeah, they have.
But again, people with agendas.
Yeah, and the media, it's like this window where you're getting this like shotgun effect of just all the worst things happening all around the country and the world.
Scary movie. When she went in there, she talked about what they talk about on the news: sex, violence, and the weather.
Oh yeah,
that's all you see on the news.
Yeah,
So.
Exactly. You know, it's like I've mentioned it before, but I love that Bill Hicks joke that he did. It's so great about how he watched CNN for like 12 hours. You know, it's like death, war, famine, disease, and he looked out his window and it's just birds chirping. You know? So.
Exactly. Yeah. Family Guy too. You know, the guy said, "Okay, right back with something else is going to kill you."
Yeah.
The news guy. I mean, it makes ratings. Ratings.
No, it totally does, and that's what it's there for. It's there to shock you and you know, disgust you and scare you and make you watch a little longer.
And it's fine. It's actually it's totally fine until it starts infringing on people's freedoms. You know what I mean? That's the thing. It's like fine if people want to be scared, they don't have to watch the news. They can watch it if they want to, whatever. But then when people start using the information that's being portrayed on the news as like actual fact about reality, and they vote that way. You know, and then it's like, okay, what's happening here? You know, it's like almost like we're using movies to decide how we should live our lives.
No, we totally are using movies to decide how we live our lives. I mean, it's all. I'm not going to use the word scripted because that makes it sound like it's completely made up. But there's a formula behind. There's a psychological formula behind how much you can scare people and how much you need to scare people to get a reaction out of them, and how you phrase things and the way you say it and which words you use when you're trying to get this point across, and what words you use when you're trying to make this point. And so, in a way, it is. The events may be real. I mean, I don't think the San Bernardino massacre was scripted by any means, but the way that it's reported is very, very much scripted and edited and fine-tuned to get a point across.
Oh,
yeah. Even when they don't know anything. All of a sudden, they keep speculating.
Yeah.
Speculating.
They just keep, it's just, you know.
They would speculate in, like, air of it being worse than it really is, too.
And they keep repeating the same information over and over and over again, and then speculating more and more about what they don't know about.
No, and that's one of the things that just, I mean, if you came on, said this happened, more news later, and then broke back in the instant you had something else, that would be great. But to see two people sit there in cheap suits and just chat with one another about what's going on,
they're pulling stuff out of the air,
left and right, just to try and then by the time it's all done with, You're like, well, they said this a few minutes ago, and then they said this now, and they said this, and then you end up with conspiracy theories because well, they said this happened, and then nothing else was ever said about it.
Yeah.
You know, and so the stuff that they came up with at the very beginning was like, apparently it was a radioactive monster from Tokyo. Right. You know, and then an hour and a half later, nobody's mentioning the radioactive monster, and then the people in the caverns are going, I bet they've hushed up that radioactive monster.
Yeah,
Always that guy. Always that guy out there in the cabin going, yeah, I knew it.
They totally hushed that up.
Yeah, that's a whole nother thing too. That like Sandy Hook is a big one that people say is staged and all this kind of stuff. Like I don't think it's staged. They wouldn't have to stage it if that's something that they're trying to accomplish or whatever. They wouldn't have to. But even if it was, it doesn't do anybody any good to worry about it because we'll never prove that one way or the other anyways, and it just makes you look crazy and irrelevant.
Yeah,
Sandy Hook. They hit on a lot of points that we don't like to talk about, like mental health in America. From what I understand, didn't that guy take out his own mom? One of the weapons before he went to the school. Yeah. But from what I understand, some of the reading I've done, she was warned by many professionals that your son is dangerously disturbed and you should do something about it. But she wouldn't.
And she had guns in a place that were easily
accessible.
No, like wasn't it like a glass case or something she had them in, or were those?
I can't. Yeah, it was something grossly inadequate.
Exactly, and you cannot do that if you're going to be responsible. If you're going to act like you're responsible, you cannot do that.
No. My 70-year-old grandmother has a gun safe for her weapons. I mean, seriously, And that's not an exaggeration. I have a 70-year-old grandmother with a gun safe with weapons.
By God.
By God. But no, they're locked up, and you can't. You know what? She's got one that she's got because she take too long to get in the safe if she needs it. The rest of them are in there.
I shoot my way to the safe with this.
Exactly. This is how I'm getting to the safe, boys and girls. Yeah, no, but yeah, I mean, again, being responsible.
Exactly. I mean. We see these big incidences, and they're more shocking. But I think some people call it the new norm, which it shouldn't be. There's a lot of things we can do, like no more gun laws. Let's enforce the laws that we already have. Thank you. And I don't know. I don't know
a few of them, maybe.
The only thing, and this might be my military history talking, my military past talking. The only thing that I think that the only common sense gun law that I see that I could even begin to get behind is, holding people accountable, even licensed, completely honest gun owners, holding them responsible for what their weapon does. We have situations. I read a situation not so long ago where a guy,
if they have control over it, I would say.
Well, no, yeah, well.
I mean, if
to a certain extent, well, I mean, yes and no. I mean, technically, if I drop a weapon and it goes off, I don't have control over it, but I should be held responsible for that weapon going off.
I'm saying, like, if I have a gun, I've taken the necessary precautions to lock up a gun. Like, it's in the trunk of my car, it's like locked or something in there, and then someone steals it.
No, that's not.
Yeah.
No.
You
okay.
mean like?
Let's say in possession.
Right.
If you're in possession of it, there was a situation down in Alabama where a guy dropped. The gun fell out of the holster in a Cracker Barrel and went off. And they were like, well, we're not going to, it's all right. And it hit a guy. Oh. Like a round hit a guy. And the police were like, oh, no, it was just an accident. No, that was a negligent discharge. Yeah. That's the term we used when I was running and kicking around Cherry Point. Negligent discharge. That's right. Like he brought a loaded weapon into a place and then shot somebody with it. I don't care if he pulled the trigger or not. Right. And that is the only piece of common. Fault. Yeah, it was his fault.
Should have been carrying a Glock.
You took the words out of my mouth. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Touche, sir. But that's the only. I mean, yes, they need to be held responsible. And you know what? If you keep your guns in an unsafe manner in your home and a child dies because of it, then you know what? You need to be charged with negligent homicide or manslaughter. That is the only thing. And to reinforce to people, the whole reason is to reinforce to people, this is a tool for taking lives.
Yeah.
That's what it's for. And if it's handled responsibly and it's used responsibly, it is an amazing tool for good. But if you don't treat it with respect, it can and probably will kill you. Yeah. And that is the only piece of common sense gun law that I could get behind is, you know what? If you own a weapon and that weapon is in your possession and someone dies from that weapon,
Right.
then yes, you need to be charged with some sort of crime for it.
Yeah, I totally get behind that, and also in like on a lot of things, I'm not necessarily for increasing prison sentences, but definitely on gun crimes. Like if you and I don't mean gun crime like possession crimes. I mean like you robbed somebody at gunpoint, or you shot somebody.
Exactly. If you use a weapon in the commission of a felony, it increases the severity of the crime.
And if we could clear out all the people that really don't need to be there, we could increase the sentences on people that
Right.
I thought the White House did that. They just released 6,000 prisoners, right?
Oh yeah, they did release a bunch.
Which one thing they did not talk about was that 2/3 of the 30% of those were deported.
Really?
Yeah, 6,000 went out and 2,000 went back to wherever they came from.
Huh.
Are they taking them back now? Because a while back they were refusing to take them back.
They put them on a plane now. If they stay where they're at, that's something else.
No, the governments themselves were saying they weren't going to take them back. They didn't want them back. They,
like,
no, be serious now.
Okay, but land this plane, slow down. Okay,
Exactly.
Hit the gas. We're gone.
But then we were having a real problem, and to the point that they were trying to figure out how they were going to work with what they were going to do to these countries that just simply would not take back their criminals.
Oh my God, here we go. All right, here we go.
Yeah, that's a
next problem.
Yeah. This has flowed into another topic.
It has. Yeah.
That's what conversations do.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
So.
and that's the problem you get with with borders and stuff. It's like that's a big fundamental thing about if you think about since the dawn of humanity, we've been gradually taking down borders over time, right? It started out just your family and maybe a couple others around a fire or whatever, and then it's like then you got a little house and a few other families, then you got a little village before you know, and then it's like, well, there's a couple of villages, and then it grows, and then borders are constantly being taken down, and we're coming together. But now we still have countries with different cultures that want to fight each other and stuff like that. And you hear about like the New World Order conspiracy. It sounds all scary and stuff.
Here we
but
go. All right.
eventually, at some point, like we're gonna have to figure something out where we can get along better with other countries. Like still have their identity and their culture, but this idea of like people moving from country to another country is like such a huge deal. Especially as transportation, as technology improves and transportation becomes like I think I brought this up on a show like a few months ago. What if you could flip a switch and all of a sudden some company came out with a way to where you could transport yourself anywhere in the world within like an hour?
Oh.
Like how dramatically would that change? The world would have to change. Because it's so hard to get in and out of different countries.
It's one world. It's becoming more one world now, which is it's always been that way, really. I mean, as far as borders, policing them, borders are just too big to police effectively.
Yeah.
If you want to get into any country, except maybe North Korea, you could probably pretty easy to get in there. You know, like some of the problems we got with people coming from say down south.
Right.
We did a mission out in Texas, just observing, trying to assist the border patrol. We forget how vast that area is.
Oh no, it's huge.
It's huge.
It's absolutely huge.
I mean, there's no way you can effectively police it without an army down there, and that's all they do is watch the border. I mean, if we're short of that, it's going to happen.
We got to figure something out to where that we can like just putting up walls and better securing the border. I don't know if that's going to necessarily be the answer. Short term, maybe, but not long term.
Let's make it better where these people are.
Right.
That way, they wouldn't have any reason maybe to go somewhere else. Example: Syria. Let's do what we can, maybe in the fighting there. I don't know how. I'm not going to even go near that. Yeah. But some of the problems we're facing now is that these refugees are flooding into other countries, and now everybody's crapless because of Paris and San Bernardino and all that. So we got to make it better where they come from, so that they don't have to leave.
I wonder if there'd be a way for American business or businesses from developed nations. I know they have like McDonald's and different things like in Iraq and stuff like that.
Burger King.
Yeah. And I know that like the culture of that land sometimes it pisses off some of them. It's like this America coming in here, but like. If businesses like that could have stuff that was culturally pleasing to them, to where it fit in with their culture and their society.
Oh, they do. I mean, I mean, the McDonald's and the Burger Kings in the Arabic countries have sometimes things on the menu like what
McGoat's eyes.
Yeah, what in the world is that, and why would I want to eat it? My favorite McDonald's are in Spain because they have beer at the McDonald's.
That's pretty cool.
You can get a Big Mac and a Stella. I'm not making that up. I got my Big Mac. I was in Zaragoza, and we went into town, and they had a McDonald's there, and I got a combo with a Stella Artois.
Wow, what a country!
Yeah, great. Almost stayed behind.
Yeah.
But I think you were talking about tearing down borders, and there weren't borders, and I think once humanity grew to a point that you had two things that you could call separate cultures, you had a de facto border.
Yeah.
At that point you had a de facto border between the two, and I don't know why it's so important to have them. To quote Tool, monkeys killing monkeys over pieces of ground. Like, I don't understand why we fight over it, except is that we're always told that this foreign person coming in is coming in to supplant and destroy our culture.
Yeah.
Let me add something to that. I don't think anybody has a problem with good quality people come over. Because they bring stuff to the table.
Right.
It steals all the others. That's the problem, the criminal element from other places. Sorry, we got enough homegrown jerks, okay?
Yeah.
We don't need any more flying in.
No, and I'm with you on that, and I'm one of those horrible people. I don't really want your broken, huddled masses yearning to breathe free.
Can anybody scrape that off the Statue of Liberty?
I want your scientists. I want your engineers. I want your economists if they know what they're talking about. I want your pilots and your doctors. I don't really necessarily need more huddled masses. We got thousands right here. We made ourselves.
We do have our own huddled masses.
We do have plenty of those.
Somebody scrape that off the Statue of Liberty. Move that
Send us the best you got, and we'll pick what we need.
Let's get some old aircraft carriers, put them out in national waters.
About 10 miles off the coast?
Yeah.
Three.
A bunch of fishing poles, some saltwater, processing,
desalinization plants. Yeah,
there you go.
They can all live out there. It's fine. That'd be great.
I think Japan's doing that now. I'm not sure.
But no, I do totally agree with what you say. If they weren't sending their worst of the worst that they didn't want any more over here, it would be a different story.
Yeah. Hey, sure, at my age, Mariel, Cuba, back when Carter was running the show. When the Cuban boat lift, the Mariel boat lift, when all the Castro said, "Okay, open the jails, get on that boat, head north."
Tony Montana came across.
Thank you. Good reference. Yeah,
Nice.
That's when I think I don't know what the numbers are, but Castro empty his jails. Go ahead, go to Florida. The gringos will take you. Yeah,
and we did.
Oh yeah. So hey, great movie too. With Pacino, great movie. Oh yeah,
it is. Yeah.
I was kind of joking earlier about the Statue of Liberty, but not completely heartless. I mean, if there are good people that are trying to get away from a bad situation and we can help them, we should.
Yeah.
But the reason that we feel like we have to help them is because our country is so much better and more, not our culture necessarily. That's all.
Our standard of living.
Our standard of living is so much better than a lot of other countries. Mm-hmm. That's why, it's probably an extremely naive way to think, but it's I would like to think, at least, that if some way we could tear down some of these borders, maybe we still have, technically the borders are there, but more metaphorically tear down the borders to where, there is the Sam Kinison joke about, go where the food is. I get some, some places are just nothing grows there, but still there are places where it's there's no reason why this couldn't also be a developed country. What is that needs to be transplanted there?
It's not something you can transplant, and that's one of the problems that America's had in a particular region of the world for about 30 or 40 years.
Can't think what he's talking about.
Just this one spot. We'll hypothetically call it a huge desert. Is that culture is, and I'm not. Here goes my small amount of anthropological training. It's cultural relativism. I'm not going to sit here and say that culture is inferior to ours in any way, shape, form, or fashion. There are things about that culture I don't agree with, things that they do every day that I think are abhorrent, but I'm not going to say that it's an inferior culture. The problem is it's not our culture and we don't understand it. And so when we go over there messing around, poking around in that area, doing what we think we need to do, we don't understand that culture nearly enough to be able to go in and do what needs to be done.
Yeah.
It's not just a matter of developing the area. That culture is completely different in a lot of ways than our own.
And would Western ideals work there?
Yeah, they don't. They don't work there, and we've got a pretty horrible reputation in that region right now for some pretty horrible things that we've done. I'm not going to pull any punches. And because of that, they're even more hostile towards the West and anything we might try to do. I
hit on this before on one of these shows. The people that want ill for us, they see it as this cosmic struggle against their culture. Against their religion. So when the great Satan comes, hey.
Well, one of them made a statement.
You got it here. I was just gonna say there's people here who look at it the same way.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Again, how do you live in America reaping all the benefits? I hate this. What's the Boston race bomber, whatever his name? Raised here?
Yeah, born and raised here and hated. Yeah.
Blow it up. What? Dude, you.
And I think and I think I've actually got something for that. We've tried in this country, and I think it in the beginning it had a noble purpose, and it was to kind of tone down our rhetoric about how freaking awesome this country is.
America.
It's got, we've got some serious issues, but overall, it's a good country.
Yeah.
And I think, it was what we tried to do was start telling some of the truth about America. We did this, and yeah, we did that, and we kind of did that too. Yeah. But it's gone from we're not perfect to I hate this country. Everything about this country is ridiculous, and they're just stupid. And it's taken on this form. It's gone from being humble to being suicidally self-deprecating.
Yeah.
And I can understand why at this point that there are people out there, I hate the country they were born in, because they've been taught to hate the country they were born in.
Okay, I'm going to say this on that point, and I think I said it to John before. Anybody got a problem with America, they did get on a plane and go somewhere else for a while, and then do a comparison.
Yeah, okay, for a while. Okay, yeah. Okay, I thought you were going the love it or leave it route, and I was like, wait a minute.
Get out, boy. The border's that way.
Get on that plane and go till it runs out of fuel. I'm done with you.
No way. No. I think a lot of people don't have perspective.
No, they don't.
They've never been anywhere else. Yeah. This is what they've known. I'm here to tell you, there's some real rat holes out there.
Oh yeah, I've been stationed in a couple of them.
That's right. I'm here to tell you, I passed through quite a few. Mm-hmm. So, hey, you can say what you want. And I was sitting on 60 miles north of Baghdad on the Tigris River a while back, thinking, you know what? I don't care how bad things get here. What happens? Great place.
Yeah.
Because I had perspective. Mm-hmm. Perspective as I was sitting in the Horn of Africa many years before that, going, picking fleas off myself. This sucks. Let's get back to America. Perspective.
It's all about perspective. And not just the region, but just to understand that even the culture here, it's still a good culture. You know what I mean? Like we've made some mistakes, and we're not perfect, and we are trying to get better.
It's very moderate compared to the rest of the world. That's one thing about our culture. It's diverse and moderate.
Transgender. This my body's telling me. Caitlyn Jenner. I'm 60 years old. I'm a woman now. Okay, go ahead.
I've done everything else.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Won a couple medals. Now I want to be a girl. And you know what?
Go ahead.
Good on you. Knock yourself out. That's what you want to do. Have at it.
Okay.
So in that way, we are a very, very accepting culture. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think a lot of times people are trying to fight battles that are actually over.
And also, too, like there's no way to say this without it coming across condescending to the rest of the world. But America was developed in the modern sense sooner than everyone else in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. So it's like the other countries, they're still behind. They still have time, to get more like on our level.
I want to say this too. That people would talk crap in other countries. May talk crap about America, but they sure love American things.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, but they keep coming here by the hordes.
Oh, and so do all the people that hate America. Here, they love American things.
yeah.
I can't stand corporations. Tweet it on Twitter from iPhone 6.
Yeah.
Let me put.
Or people that will talk trash about Walmart, blah, 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 and then they go buy everything at Walmart.
Yeah,
Exactly,
yeah.
yeah.
Walmart's a horrible world-eating corporation. Where'd you get your shoes? That's not important.
That gas sure is cheap over there, though. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on, hypocrisy. Which I think my experience in Iraq, one thing that I talked to some of the native people, what they really hated was hypocrisy, American hypocrisy.
Yeah.
You say this, but you do that. So,
Yeah.
And part of it too is we have an advantage of resources. I mean, America's a gold mine of resources. That's been one of the biggest differences in a lot of ways in our progress. And stuff. And some of these countries, like the Middle East. The Middle East, they got oil, but they didn't have the technology until recently to get it out of the ground. But for the longest time, like one of the driest, there's no resources there hardly. Really. I mean,
and if it wasn't for the invention of the internal combustion engine, there still would not be any resources there. I mean, that's really what that entire region runs on is oil.
Yeah.
Across the board.
Yeah, so they've got that really huge disadvantage. I don't know. I mean, my big thing is I hold out hope that the internet eventually, once it reaches more corners of the world, that everyone will be able to I
wanted to really quick though. I just said that, and it kind of, but that's still the cradle of civilization.
Yeah.
It's true. Yeah.
You know what I mean? We sit here and say they don't have a lot of resources, they don't do this, they don't do that. But that literally is the birthplace of civilization.
But that could be because the Earth, it changes. And
well, I mean, it hasn't been a very verdant region for the last 4,000 or 5,000 years. I mean, the majority of human history, if you read any of it or listen to any of it, on the little cuneiform tablets, it wasn't really a lush jungle back then. I mean, between the Tigris,
time it may have been.
Well, between the Tigris and the Euphrates is a pretty nice area, and the Mesopotamian crescent. But out past that, there's not much there yet. It still managed to be, pretty much where a lot of our culture, most of our culture was born.
And people took it and they took that culture and they migrated out from there. You're right there between the Euphrates and the Tigris. Now, very lush. South of Baghdad, lush.
Yeah.
But you go from if you got the river and you go about a mile that way, desert.
Oh yeah. Complete desert. Yeah, it's horrible.
Like Egypt.
Yeah. You get more than 3 miles from the Nile, it's it's on.
Okay, dude, it's got sand. So
that's interesting. Yeah. It's tough to figure that out. What is the deal?
It's very tribal there. I'll say this: a lot of places like Iraq, not very. There's no real national sense of national identity. You got the Kurds up north. You got the Sunnis down south, with the other guys in the middle.
Shia.
The Shia in the middle. It's more about tribal loyalty there, my experience.
Yeah.
More about tribal loyalty.
That's because those borders have only been there about, 150 years?
The British took over and said, okay, you're all Iraqis now.
And they just cut lines through tribal lands, and even back then, the vast majority of people were nomads, and they moved from area to area as resources came and went. And nope, this is the time where this turns into a death bowl of dust. We're going to go over here where the stuff's growing today, but then the British went in and carved everything up with, I can only assume, random lines from a drunk cartographer and made countries out of the area, and that was the first mistake. And then, being the descendants of the British we went, we can do better, and then we went over there and started playing around in between the lines. And so
I wonder why no one ever made a country off of their likeness, whoever they got.
This looks just like Bob's nose. I have no idea.
It's like a country has like a guy's face.
In silhouette. Somebody's 4-year-old traced it.
Or it's like a horse. I liked horses at the time.
Where did because they didn't go with tribes. They didn't go with the people that were already there. They just arbitrarily put in things. Like there's a part of Afghanistan that, and it's the story. It's been a long time, so the story escapes me. But there's this finger that hooks out of Afghanistan, and it's just this nothing land.
I know what you're talking about.
But it's there to cut off. Is it Pakistan? It's there to cut off Pakistan from India or China or somewhere. And so to the point that if they cross that border, Afghanistan will get involved. But that's the only reason it's there, was to protect a resource that somebody thought, well, we'll just make Afghanistan really upset if this were to happen. You know, and so it's that arbitrary. And so he's right. It is all about what tribe you're from, more so than what country you're from any day of the week over there.
Some people have, in hindsight, said, was getting rid of Saddam a good thing?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it now.
I mean, it's like, he kept him in line. Was he a brutal despot? Yes, but he kept him in line.
You could argue that culture needs that.
Gaddafi, same thing.
It's a culture, and is that good? Is that bad? I'm not here to say. But what I'm saying is that culture needs that sort of enforcement.
I mean,
you know what I mean? Like, there's not a lot of terrorist bombings in Iran. I'm just going to throw that out there. Yeah. Like, it's a brutal dictatorship. Don't get me wrong. Not a fan. But it does have the merit of peace. And so I don't,
Saddam and Gaddafi were both saying, look what I got to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't. You thought you could do this better. Turns out you were horribly wrong.
$12 billion and 13 years later.
And we're still pouring money into it like a sieve. Trying to win hearts and minds.
Well, that's the fundamental problem. Everybody thinks their way is right,
of course,
and everybody is different, and it's just anything that you try to say to try to figure it out ends up being you saying that you're better than someone else, and then that, you know what I mean?
Who are you to come here?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Who are you to come here? But let's not go there.
Right, we definitely need to get all of our. I've always thought, again, I don't have the military experience. I don't know, but I've always thought that almost more good could be done over there with like special operations units. Do we really need to have big bases?
That's what they're leaning toward now. I don't know, is that keeping a special ops war. Don't commit yourself, because once you commit ground troops, once you start bringing the cooks and the supply guys in, that costs more money, and you're paying special operations people in there.
Just keep an eye on things.
To overwatch them doing the fighting, and we'll help you, and but not put a big footprint in there. That's the way to go. It's cheaper, a lot safer too, because when you start doing what we did in 03. And you got 250,000 guys there, and everything that it costs, and you spend all this money to train the local nationals to fight, and it don't work out like it didn't.
Yeah, like it totally didn't. Yeah.
And a lot of people have said too, why aren't the people in the countries in the Middle East fighting ISIS?
Yeah.
The Jordanians they're bombing, and the side's got all that money, but they feel like, you know what, we'll hold your coat, and you send your guys. We'll pay you. We'll give you a little bit of money. We'll hold your coat. Now you go fight them. That just be their attitude.
Yeah,
with the Kuwaitis and all that, but I think it could be a good thing, because the Iranians don't like ISIS either. A lot of the other countries, Jordanians and the Turks too, they got a problem with ISIS too. I think they can handle this, right? 3 countries, 3 different armies.
Surprised that
they could have, and I'm going to say this, and I really don't care at this point.
Okay.
They probably could have handled it a lot better if we hadn't armed all of the ISIS fighters with M16s and American armament.
Where'd they get them from? I don't know.
While calling them Syrian rebels,
or the Iraqi army that first time out against $12 billion later. 10 years. First time out against ISIS, threw it down and ran away.
Yeah.
You hear about the South?
So, they would probably been a whole lot better at handling it if they weren't carrying, tons of American armament around on their back every day.
And those Humvees look real familiar.
Yeah, they do. Someone was saying the problem that ISIS is going to have, and I totally believe it, is that they're not a state. ISIS is going to fall under its own weight because it's not a state. They don't know how to run a state. All they know is how to go in, tear stuff up, destroy a bunch of things, annihilate cultural treasures, and then watch everybody around them die of death and disease because they can't figure out how a sewer system works. They're not a state.
No.
They're not. They have no idea how a state functions, what a state has to do to provide for its people. And some of the areas that they control are some of the most disease-ridden, filthy places in the Middle East right now, because they have no idea how to even handle basic sanitation.
I've heard the same thing. You're right. They got great social media skills, though.
Oh, yeah. Not anymore. Did you guys hear about Anonymous rickrolling them?
No, I didn't hear about that.
Okay, so you heard about Anonymous after the Paris attacks. They were like, we're done. We're done messing around with you. Like, this ain't just going to be taking down. This ain't just going to be taking down websites anymore. We're going to harass you across the internet. So they went onto their Twitter. They got a whole bunch of their Twitter accounts and hijacked a bunch of their hashtags and a bunch of their links, and got to a point that every time ISIS tried to get something trending on Twitter or Facebook or anything else, when you clicked on the link, never gonna give you up. There's a Rick Astley just right there, dude. They literally rickrolled ISIS for like 2 weeks. Just to show that they could, because the head of ISIS, called them all idiots and said that it was easy to get around what they could do, and there was no way that these stupid hackers from Anonymous could do anything, and they literally just annihilated their ability to communicate. And
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's absolutely awesome. Of course, highly trained cyber corps from the CIA couldn't track any of them down, but a bunch of dudes in Guy Fawkes masks have brought them to their knees.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, isn't it?
Yeah. It seems something's a little fishy. I don't know. I'm just saying that.
I don't know. People forgot about Al Qaeda. I mean, have they just gone away? I mean, ISIS. I mean, they're competing now. By the way,
They're retired.
Yeah. ISIS, you take this for a while. We'll come back later.
Even Al Qaeda goes. Those ISIS guys were crazy back then. So.
Yeah, no, yeah. Are they to the point of competing now? I haven't.
I've heard that now they're trying to do the one up thing now.
Like the terrorism Super Bowl? Is that what? It's the World Series of Massacres.
That stuff in Mali with the guys that attacked the hotel in Mali.
No, that was Al Qaeda.
That was Al Qaeda, and they're speaking in English. That's your big thing now. We're speaking in English now. Yeah. No more subtitles. So
bringing it straight to you.
Which reminds me, have you noticed how Obama always goes out of his way to pronounce like their stuff correctly?
You mean Pakistan?
Yeah. He doesn't say Al Qaeda like how every American does. He says Al Qaeda.
Al Qaeda in Pakistan.
These guys don't have a real lasting power, because when the guys in Nigeria, that offshoot of Al Qaeda, acted up, the Nigerians silently under the table, they called the South Africans. Hey, dudes. Hey, we got a problem. They called in the same South African units then that worked during apartheid and took out the rebels there. Called them up to Nigeria, paid them off. No more problem.
No, is that why we haven't heard anything on Nigeria?
I think we haven't heard anything in Nigeria. No more, or maybe a little. What's that condition that epidemic they had?
The Ebola.
Ebola.
You ain't shooting Ebola.
That's right. Besides Ebola, after that, they took out the rebels, got all the brides back. Yeah. That's good. So hey, but they paid the money, got the people that they should have got, handled the problem. In fact, the Nigerians said the South Africans would go in there at night, whack them, be back by morning. Huh. So, get what you pay for.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
But they want to keep it on the down low, though. They didn't want to say, that the Nigerians couldn't handle their own problems. They didn't want to. They didn't want to say they had to outsource.
Yeah.
sometimes you got to call an out of town help.
Yeah.
A couple of guys from Jersey, fly them over.
You got a nice jungle encampment here. I'd hate for something bad to happen to it.
I wonder if it'll be interesting to see how we deal with ISIS in the future. I could almost see them. Like, what is that company, Triple Canopy, still around?
Yeah, they're still out there, but
some of those companies going over there.
America got a bad taste in his mouth about contracting.
Yeah.
This last war was if you were a contractor, as we know, that's what the money was. But contractors, that's a code word for mercenary, and nobody likes that word.
Yeah.
So,
we're not supposed to be. We're not. Yeah, America's just not. We don't use mercenary. Well, we haven't. We did it. Early on, we might have bought a few, but we're not supposed to be using them anymore.
There's no taste in the American mouth now for putting ground troops on the ground. Besides special ops people, the Russians. I was saying the Russians.
That's right, Cold War vet.
But I kid.
You fired all those cold shots.
40 years of the Cold War, we still have the flu. I don't
understand. But the Russians are trying their hand in Afghanistan. They're trying to keep al-Assad in power, the guy who started the civil war in the first place.
Yeah.
So they're not doing too well now. They're sending more troops now. They're building another base there. Oh, here we go.
In Syria?
Yeah, and the Turks shot down one of their bombers.
Yeah, now I heard about that.
And they're like, we're sorry. We yelled at him. He didn't listen. So,
I actually saw an article on that the other day, like how physics basically proved that both Russia and Turkey are not being completely honest. Turkey's being a lot less honest. I mean, if you just look at where the fighter landed and like where it was supposedly hit and so on and so forth, there's no way on earth that they issued, what did they say, something like
10 warnings.
10 warnings, yeah.
Was it in Turkish or Russian? I'm like, if you're a Russian guy, what's this guy saying?
Yeah.
I don't hear it. He's jabbering.
Well, I don't know if military. I don't know because I don't know if military follows the same protocol that civilian airports do. Because I don't know if you guys know this or not, but all civilian airports all over the world have to converse in English with pilots.
Yes.
So I don't know if that's the same way with fighter jets or whatever, you know.
Good question, yeah.
And maybe they had, I mean, Turkey's not that far from Russia. They might have had somebody there that spoke it. I mean, they're kind of close to each other, you know. But there's no way that you could have gotten, because when they started issuing these warnings, the guy would have been like 5 or 10 miles from the border. There would have been no reason to warn him. You know, so. I don't think Turkey is being completely honest. I don't think Russia's being completely honest. You know, let's face it, nobody's completely honest.
Yeah, they're supposedly bombing ISIS. Well, the Americans are like, no, you're bombing the guys that are against your boy Assad.
Yeah.
It really seems like Russia, after the breakup of the Soviet Union, they were kind of laying low for a while, but now it's like they've woken up. Stretching, you know.
Well, Putin was talking crap about somebody at the UN. He says, some people, since they won the Cold War, I'm not saying who.
Oh wow! No, I didn't hear about that. It doesn't make me not laugh. But we did kind of win the Cold War. Like, your people got tired of standing in line for moldy cheese, and I looked for your government. We didn't have to fire a shot. I think we won the Cold War. Like,
and then he's like, some people think that some people. This is my Putin. Some people think that they can do no wrong. I'm not saying who.
Well, now that I've kind of got to agree with him on, but we do kind of have that mentality sometimes. Like, oh, well, we're fine. We're America.
Come on, America.
No,
America. Come on now. Yeah. So that's why this is. He's trying to show his people that we're still relevant with the Russians, by God.
Yeah.
And hey, okay, they have a problem keeping their aircraft operational though.
They don't want to fight with us. I don't think.
No, they don't, because there's a
do.
hotline established between the United States and the Soviet. Listen to me, Russian,
the Russian Federation, Russian Federation.
I'm that old guy. Them Ruskies be a coming by guy. I'm that old guy.
Back in Saigon. That's not there anymore.
It's Ho Chi Minh City now.
So here it's lovely in the spring.
There's a hotline established between the Russian Federation forces and the U.S. To avoid any kind of conflict. Because you're right, nobody wants to have a little accident.
No, we do not need World War III kicking off in the Dust Bowl.
They fired their ships fired some missiles across Iran and across to hit some targets in Syria. That's a heck of a shot.
Yeah,
from the Caspian Sea to the northern Syria.
Yeah.
But they said some of the United States said some of the rockets landed short and blew some stuff up in Iran, but the Iranians are like, no, it was nothing.
Yeah.
It was nothing.
It's not. It's just like 5 or 6 city blocks. Nobody's gonna miss it. We're not gonna tell the Russians they messed up. That's just stupid.
See, I
Then
think
they'll start missing more targets in our country, and nobody wants that.
I think one of the big reasons that I think we definitely got a leg up on Russia. The reason that one of the big reasons both of us are superpowers in the world is because we took all the Nazis' good technology, and I'm pretty sure we got the best stuff.
And all the Nazis that made the good technology.
Yeah, we got the best stuff, I think. Because from what I understand, I've been reading on this book and finished it. Unless I'm wrong, from what I understand, we got there first, right? In World War II, like we got to a lot of the Nazi strongholds and stuff before they did.
A lot of the scientific research.
And then at one point, I read that then the Russians complained because they were like, "Hey, like we're entitled to a certain percentage of this," and then we were like, "Oh, okay, well, you can have this much, but we already got everything we wanted, by that point."
And those
you can take the assistant to the guy that made me at Berlin Polytechnic.
And call me a conspiracy theorist, but I have a feeling we might have uncovered some technology that isn't common knowledge. Maybe. I don't
No,
know.
there's at least a decent possibility.
A lot of your Nazi scientists didn't want to surrender to the Russians for some reason, so they wanted to get over to the American and British. Okay, we're going west. We're going west.
Well, that was. I mean, I don't know. Since we're going way back in the Wayback Machine. One of the things that I always found absolutely hilarious about the Soviet situation is they played the what is it called? The Grapes of Wrath.
Yeah.
They played the Grapes of Wrath in Soviet Russia to show people how America was starving to death and how they'd screwed up their ecosystem.
Yeah.
And it was supposed to be this massive propaganda film. And you know what the majority of Russians took away from that film?
What's that?
That everybody in the movie had a car.
That's right.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's like they all have cars. How do they all afford cars?
What problem?
American have cars.
They all have cars. Like, how is this possible? And so I think a lot of the Nazi scientists went, no, we'll go to L.A. Even Werner von Braun was like, Huntsville's better than Moscow. Let's do this.
Land of John Wayne.
Yeah, let's go.
The Russians, one reason that they're maybe not where they should be is that they're still, number one, they're trying to exploit each other and their resources, instead of working together. They're still trying to mess over each other. And two, a lot of them still blame America for all their issues.
Oh, yeah.
Like that, when that piece of meteor or whatever it was hit that Russian city.
Oh, yeah.
The first thing they thought was the Americans.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Control meteors?
Because we have that technology. Hey, maybe we do have that
Maybe we do. I don't know.
I also have a degree in physics from a local university, and I was talking to
local university,
large local public university. But I was talking to my professors at the time, and he had worked with a lot of he had worked with some Russian scientists that after the Cold War was over, and he said that their math skills are impeccable. Like their ability to do mathematics is impeccable. And we were like, well, that's cool. Way to make us feel horrible over here in the States. He was like, no. It's because they didn't have the level of computerization that we had here in America. So one of the reasons we might be up on the Russians is pretty much the Japanese. I think is pretty much why we have the advantage that we have because we got all of that microprocessor technology and all the stuff that they were working on and all the miniaturization and powerful supercomputers that they're famous for producing. We got a hold of those, and Russia was trying to do everything internally.
Didn't the Nazis pioneer the computer though? But then the Japanese kind of
the Japanese kind of picked it up and ran with it. The Germans. Well, I mean, technically, the English pioneered the computer. If you want to go all the way back to the difference engine, Stirling's difference engine. But was it Stirling? Anyway, the difference engine was one of the first computers ever created, and so Babbage. It was Babbage. Babbage's difference engine would have been the first computer, and the Nazis and the Germans did work with it a lot. As far as turning it into something digital and electronic, but the Russians have never really been known for their high-end computer systems, and I think that was one of the big differences that America computerized ahead of the Russians, and I think that's why we got a lot better technology in certain situations. But let's not sell them short. They've got some pretty good stuff.
They do.
Sputnik, they got the jump on us. That's going way back. Sputnik.
Yeah, they did get the jump on us with Sputnik.
But that spurred the NASA space race.
Yeah. And they did get things in orbit. They got people in orbit before we did.
They got the numbers too. That's another thing. It's not like, well, I mean, with the Nazis, God, I can't imagine if Germany was a bigger country. Like the Nazis were the size of Russia.
Oh my God.
Oh my
no,
God.
that would have been I don't know if because you guys are talking about Star Wars. I'm really actually wanting to watch this new show on Amazon.
Oh yeah.
The Man in the High Castle.
Yeah,
I don't know if you've
Japan and
I don't know if you've ever read the book or not. The book is mind blowing. Philip K. Dick is the one that wrote it. For those who are not familiar with Philip K. Dick, he's the same guy that wrote the movie that became Blade Runner, the movie that became both versions of Total Recall, or the book that became both versions of Total Recall. Book's much better.
Okay, of course.
I like the Arnold Schwarzenegger version.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, no.
Sharon Stone. Come on.
To be honest with you, the Colin Farrell version is actually true to the book.
Really?
Okay,
It seems like too much of a There was too much like action CGI stuff.
Well, no, that. But as far as like, there's no blue sky on Mars in We Can Remember Before.
Okay.
He also wrote the book that became, or the story that became Minority Report.
Okay.
So he's done a lot of. You recognize his stuff whether you realize you've recognized it or not. But he did a lot of alternative reality, alternative history kind of stuff. And so I really do. After having read Man in the High Castle, I'm really interested to see. To see where that show went.
The first couple episodes, it's interesting.
Is it good?
But if Germany was bigger though, we'd have been screwed for sure. And well, maybe not for sure, but it would have been a different situation. I think if they had more people, they just didn't seem to have the manpower.
Well, they believe their own hype. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Germany did have the whole "we're the master race" thing going on, and after a while, you can only ride that crest so far, until people, after your fourth or fifth lambasting by some other country, you start to question: Am I really the master race?
And those Russians just kept coming. No matter how many they be killed, they just kept coming.
They should have picked at least a few other countries to say we're you, and then you are the master race.
The Austrians and the Belgians. And, you know what? Even some of the French. You kind of isolated yourself and limited your options there.
Or if Adolf had just said, you know what? I got Europe. I'm done. I'm done.
He could have just held Europe and been done with it. Yeah,
and
but he, when down into Africa, and then tried to take Russia, and somebody should have told him about this Napoleon dude. Might have let him know that wasn't a great idea.
In Adolf's second book, he talked about he had every intention of invading the United States. Which his unpublished second book.
He did.
His unpublished second book, he made it very plain. Okay, after I take out Europe and get the British out of the way, America, here I come.
Because that would have worked well.
They should have done just retreated from the Russians and let the Russians chase him. Trying to invade America.
I have no idea why when you said that I got the Benny Hill thing in my head, but it just yakety sax just exploded in my brain.
Yeah, I do wish there was a graphic image of that happening. It's all around the world.
Well, I don't know. If certain people with the initials AH had to listen to his boys, who knows? It might turn out the way. The Allies were tried to assassinate Hitler, but then they thought, you know what? No. Let him stay alive. It's better for us if this guy keeps making decisions. Which he was doing everything wrong. Good.
Yeah.
Stay in charge, Adolf. Hey.
If he had listened to his advisors, it would have also been a completely different.
Oh yeah. Yes.
So let's think that every god there is actually do that.
Imagine that a crazy person continues to do crazy irresponsible things.
Yeah. And then and as they go worse and worse and worse, he just makes worse and worse decisions.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But what I was saying is, Russia. That's one thing about Russia. I think we got them on technology to an extent, but they do have the manpower. It would be a for real war if we had to go to war with them. But
actually, Russia, their population is only half of the United States.
Is it?
They only got 150 million.
But
we got 300.
Well, yeah, that's true. Because they would make everybody fight,
everybody.
Which
is what they, the Russians tend not to fight very hard when they're not in Russia. Now, if you invade Russia, as we've seen, they fight. They're ferocious.
Things go horribly wrong for you.
But they're not, they've been too ferocious outside of Russia.
Yeah.
Like Afghanistan.
Yeah.
They were ferocious in Afghanistan. They were just, there's a reason that area is called the graveyard of empires.
Yeah.
British. You just can't, the British Empire destroyed themselves trying to keep that area. The Russian Empire destroyed themselves trying to keep that area. And you know what? I'm going to use the term. I think the American Empire is going to do the same thing.
Well, have I heard that before? American Empire.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we're trying to do.
We're trying to be sneakier about it than the British.
You can't say the word though. You can't say that. It may be true.
What, American Empire?
You can't. No, that's bad. That's not PC. Hey,
I don't really give a rat's rear end about PC. Trying to keep my concept of PC PG, but I really don't.
Not untrue. Yeah. But you just can't say it because as I told John here that I'm sitting in Iraq and I'm thinking. I'm seeing guys from every state, every National Guard from every state in the Union, Puerto Rico, the American Virgin Islands, American Samoa.
Yeah,
and I'm thinking, by God, it's an empire.
It is an empire. It is completely an empire, and I think that's why we have the reputation that we have.
Yeah,
it's because people think, they're just trying to set up another state for their empire here.
Which Bill Maher, Great show, by the way.
Yeah, he did a good show,
he
yeah.
talked about that. He gets on the United States for doing that. You know, with all of the money we spend is for maintenance of the empire. Like after 70 years, well, we still got bases in Germany.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
now
Hey,
Korea,
the
I
Nazis
understand.
might come back. Nazis might come back. Hitler's grandson.
We got bases in Germany because E7s and 09s need somewhere
Where
to
to
be
go.
stationed. That's what the bases in Germany are for. You know what? I've been stationed in Iraq. I've been stationed in South Korea. You know what? I'm going to finish this out in Berlin. I'm going to go hang out in Ramstein Air Force Base and eat schnitzel for the last 4 years of my hitch.
Oh,
No, that's why it's there.
okay.
No, it's there because honestly, those countries don't really care if we're there, and we spend lots and lots of money over there. And it's to keep our interests safe.
True. The Germans are afraid too that if the Americans pulled out completely, which Germans have cut their army.
Yeah,
If they
they can afford to. They got hundreds of thousands of our troops over there.
And with that track record the German army got, I don't know. but they're afraid that Vladimir might get a little bit more froggy if there ain't no Americans around.
See, I don't think
You know?
that's going to happen. I don't. I think now. Don't get me wrong. I do like Mr. Putin, but I don't think he's that kind of froggy. I really don't. I mean, the thing in Ukraine, that's sort of I think that was somebody kicked him in his Russian pride, and so he wasn't going to let that stand. Seeing how they were once part of the Soviet Union, you
Yep.
know, we can't just let these former minions go off thinking they run their own country. But as far as coming into Europe and actually attacking a NATO state, even if we ain't got troops sitting there, that's still probably not your best option for a way to spend a Saturday afternoon.
Everybody's going to be against them if they do that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, in the entire political world opinion will turn on them instantly if they were to try and take anything in Europe because there's no reason for it.
Like the Turks, he's not going to do much. He'll probably whine, but he ain't going to do much.
He's not going to do much. I mean, he could conceivably, come up with a reason to do it because they shot down one of his planes. But even then, he's not doing it.
They're part of NATO.
Yeah, they're part of NATO, and he doesn't. And that was, that's. I read that and I was like, oh, didn't they just join like 3 years ago? This could go poorly quickly. But no, but he didn't. He didn't even. He yelled at him and told him, do that again. There's going to be an issue.
Okay.
To what that issue will be, we don't know. But yeah, I don't think he would outright just open hostility against a NATO nation state.
way.
Just no. And
Because you would open the door for so many other countries.
Oh, my
to
God.
Oh yeah,
attack
at
them,
that
man.
point you are the bad guy. Like,
And-
why did you go down there? Did you run out of kielbasa? Why did you attack Germany? What were they doing to you?
Yeah. We're trying to put the wall back up.
Yeah, exactly. It's over, Vlad. That wall's not going back up,
And
bro.
the Germans are trying to make peace, trying to smooth things over. And a lot of people say the Germans are still a little bit feels inferior to the Russians. Don't know why.
Yeah.
But
I've heard that there. I went to school with a guy who's in Iraq, and he was stationed in Germany for a while. He said that the Germans are real touchy about anything World War II.
oh yeah,
Like you have to be
Don't
real
mention
careful.
the war. Don't mention the war.
Yeah.
dude, don't even. Ooh, no,
You don't bring up anything about the war. Like they
Except-
don't even play Mass Effect over there because they don't want to hear about Normandy. Like it's that.
You can't show any kind of Nazi any kind of Nazi symbolism is outlawed in the German state.
Oh yeah, no, that is completely that is true.
Also, except for that guy I told you about that took me to his basement, the Nazi basement.
Oh yeah.
The
That's
Nazi
right.
basement.
Yeah.
This guy I'm over there.
No, it's just the terminology. You seen my Nazi basement? Hold on, dude. I'm not. Huh?
One in 10 people have a Nazi basement. We gotta stop this.
For those of you who don't know, years ago, and we were going to this German American thing, and it was German American Veterans Day, which I thought was they invite American soldiers. Which I'm standing there with these German soldiers having a Veterans Day thing in this cemetery full of dead German guys, which I thought at the time it's kind of ironic considering Americans probably planted half these guys in here.
Yeah, no kidding,
So, okay,
Whatever,
This old German guy's like, "Hey, come to our house. Come to our, we treat you good." Okay. The other 5 GIs with me were like, "Yeah, let's go." I'm like, "Hey, dude, we don't know this guy. We're gonna go wandering off to the countryside with him." But they're like, "Beer." These guys are like, "Let's go." So we get out there. We drive for like a half hour. Get out there to this little German village in the middle of nowhere. He's like, "Not front door. Come around to the back." I'm like, "Dudes, he wants us to go around to the back of the house. Do we know where we are?" He says, "Beer this way." Okay, all right. We go down there. He opens up the basement. And all I saw was this stone tunnel going back into this dark room with flickering lights. I went, it's a dungeon. It's a dungeon. Right?
In 15 years, somebody's going to make a movie called Hostel that's going to start out just like this.
Exactly. I didn't know it then. We go down there through this dark, damp tunnel with moss.
Indiana Jones pops out. I'm leaving.
Does anybody think this is strange except me?
Yeah.
We get down there. We go into his basement. The first thing I see right off to my left is a mannequin with a SS uniform on it. Okay.
Probably real too.
It was the real thing. This was
probably
his uniform.
is. Yeah.
And all this Nazi memorabilia is him on the Rhine in 38 and him in Russia in 42. And he says, yeah, this is me, outside Stalingrad. Okay, I'm like, oh yeah, it's good. Which way out? This is great. I love that.
I'm not drinking any beer from you. It's not going to happen. Yeah.
So we were down there for like 3-4 hours, and he's just serving these guys beer. And I wouldn't touch it for that reason.
Yeah.
I'm not drinking nothing this guy offers me, right? And I'm making up all these stories like, yeah, they got satellites tracking us. They put this thing in our neck and they track us. They're probably watching us right now. I called before we left. I'm making all these excuses. And finally, after about 3 hours, he's like, all right, we take you back now. We take you back. Okay, all right, good. Let's go. And I pick up the guys that are with me because they're passed out. Put them in the van and they take us back.
Nice.
Dude.
Nothing like being trapped in a Nazi basement for 4 hours with Hans von Bourbon stealing.
The only thing I think saved us, it was still during the Cold War, and we were American GIs, and they were all about the Americans. Yeah, we fight Russians because he fought the Russians in World War II.
Okay.
Oh, he's like, we're okay, you're okay.
Yeah, I hate Russians just like you. See, we made it all the way to Stalingrad.
Oh, okay. So, dude,
But kind of back where we were, I don't think that there's ever going to be a time when Russia just goes after somebody.
Not anymore. Not anymore.
Before it would have been an issue, but
not now that everybody's got nukes and
everybody's got nukes, and Russia's not really trying to spread a doctrine or an agenda anymore. They've just kind of decided that that whole communist thing kind of fell flat, didn't it? There's
more money and
there's more. They figured out there's. Shocker of shockers, more money in capitalism. Who knew? So I don't think that's ever going to be an issue. But we're never going to pull our bases from anywhere else in the world.
Yeah,
it's just not going to happen. I mean, you can argue for a base in South Korea, sure. You can argue for a base in Japan, sure. You can't argue for a base in England.
Yeah.
You can't argue for a base in Germany. You can't argue for bases in France. You can't argue for any of those bases because there's no reason for them to be there. But no, we just want to project this global presence.
Right.
It's like that Orwellian. Sorry to any sailors listening, mad respect for you and what you do. But that Orwellian Navy, a global force for good.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's the creepiest thing I've ever heard.
That is creepy.
You know what I mean? Like, it's Army strong. Yeah, that's Army strong. Got it. Cool.
Yeah.
Few the proud, the Marines. Yeah. Aim high. Yes. A global force for good.
Yeah.
Whoa. That one just, whatever happened to the other, why did we need this new slogan? That was necessary. So, but that's what we want. We want to project a force everywhere in the world.
We got a friend. He's actually been on the show before, Rod, and he was in the Navy from, I think he told me it was 76 to 82, I believe it was. Mm-hmm. And he was stationed in Japan for 3 years. And I was asking him about, last time he was over here, I was asking him just about, like, what was that, not just incredibly far after World War II, like, what was the people like and stuff like that. He said they typically loved Americans, but he said there was still this vibe was very real still in the air of, like, Americans have a big bomb, like
that occupation, that occupier thing.
Yeah, he said that was very, like, in the air. Like, you could still feel that, and
same way in Germany when I was there. You could always pick out the Americans because they walk down the street like they own the place.
Oh
yeah. And I think that's one of the reasons that we have the reputation we have the world over is because we do tend to walk around places like we own them, even when we obviously don't.
But it is kind of like, we're kind of the toughest guy in the neighborhood. But in a way, you know what I mean? And,
Yeah, we are the toughest guy in the neighborhood, but at some point, you kind of, unless you want everybody to hate you,
I'm not saying
you have to get a level of
should.
humbleness about who you are.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
I agree. I'm not saying that we need to impose our will on everyone.
Send your armies forth.
You know what this 9th century castle could use? A bald eagle. People get kind of upset when you say things like that.
Yeah. But I'm saying, though, but there's some truth to that, us being the tough guy in the neighborhood. And then people sort of embody that sometimes, whether it's not necessarily.
We whooped you in 44. No. Your granddad beat him in 44. Not you.
Yeah, you're not the same. You're not the same. Oh, don't even get me started. Don't even get me started about how this is not the same generation that the same country that won World War II.
There was, it's funny, because I've been pretty heavily involved in YouTube since the early days of it. I remember it used to be, it's kind of fizzled out now, but it used to be early on in the early days of YouTube, there was loads and loads of people arguing in comments about because it was like one of the first times where people really were communicating cross countries about all that. World War II, we kicked your ass there. No, if it wasn't for us, you wouldn't have done this and that. There was a ton of that on YouTube in the early days. And it's sort of, people have kind of gotten over that fact that okay, there's people from Russia and Germany and Japan on YouTube. It's whatever.
If you listen to British,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
If you go to Britain, if you ask them, we already had it knocked out by the time you guys showed up.
Yeah, you Yanks showed up and took all the glory.
We took the fight out of them, and then you show up and you had a couple of guns. But But in their opinion,
we'd worn them out by taking all the punches. They didn't have any missiles left by the time we got here. Used them all on us.
Their big thing is that Americans always show up late for wars.
That's true.
What was the saying? What was the saying? The problem with Americans is that they're overconfident, oversexed, and overheated.
Exactly.
That's what the British used to say about the Americans.
And the Russians, their thing. I remember the 50th anniversary of Normandy, and the Russians were left out, and they were like, "Whoa," because the Russians were doing most of the fighting at the time. And the Russians felt like, by the time of Normandy. Again, we tied down most of the German army. It took hundreds of thousands of casualties. We made it capable for you to invade Normandy by our fighting on the Eastern Front. So,
which was a horrible debacle of an operation. I'm just going to throw that out.
Oh my God.
Normandy. Oh my God. Yeah.
No, that was a cluster from the word go.
It was a mess. Yeah, like Omaha Beach and
Saving Private Ryan. Great depiction.
Yeah, it really was. Well, that's because the bombers didn't hit 90% of their targets.
My grandpa was he drove the amphibious units, the ducks. He was at Utah Beach. And obviously all the beaches were still rough. Omaha was the worst, but luckily Utah, supposedly from what I read, Utah Beach only got bombed correctly by accident.
Yeah.
Because they
it worked out.
Forrest Gumped our way into a victory.
Yeah. But what I read in a book, it said that they had intended on bombing the wrong place somehow. And then something about the wind, or there was something that happened, and then they accidentally bombed the right place.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
Go gadget bomb something.
But still, those bunkers are pretty solid.
Yeah, they were, but they weren't soft. They were solid and not softened at all when everybody started landing.
Yeah.
Went to Normandy, and if you get a chance to go, every American should go there.
Yeah, I'd love to get down there.
Oh my God!
But the question is, in all honesty, if you look at everything since then, and I'm just going to ask this question, I'll throw it out there because I've heard it before, and I wonder sometimes: was World War II the last time America was right?
It was the last war that was in black and white. It was the last. It was good. Good idea. Good mission. Let's go. We're all behind it. Let's go.
And that has a double meaning. I love when you say that because that has a double meaning because it's black and white, like clear cut, and also in black and white in the sense of there wasn't like real footage coming back so much.
It was just this or that. It was all good. GI going out there to get the bad guy Nazi.
There's some out there now that you can watch, but like as far as I understand, at the time, like in the movie theaters, people would see the propaganda.
It
was all
war on the Western Front.
G.I. Joe. Moving forward, it was like
GIs take Berlin. It's all sanitized.
Exactly. Which you still can't show. You still can't show real battle footage.
No, you still can't.
No way.
They still edit the living hell out of it.
Oh yeah.
You can't.
This last war was sanitized.
I'm sure there's someone out there on the internet somewhere.
There are pictures. In fact, in Iraq, they told us, do not send any pictures of corpses. Oh, okay.
It's
All right.
it's out there. I've seen it. Yeah.
It's out there. I mean, people do it anyway. In today's digital age, how do you control that?
Oh, you showed me some that one night we were working.
Oh my God! Oh Jesus!
Yeah, but I also wonder if that's not a good thing.
It is good because you shouldn't have to water stuff down. I mean, it's
But people
a
should
face of battle.
understand.
No, you know what? I want
wars,
people
yeah.
to understand.
Yeah, exactly.
Sitting
Yeah.
here as former Marine, former soldier, who've been to these places and mess with this stuff, it shouldn't be sanitized.
Yeah. 'Cause, like,
the American people should know what war looks like and what you're asking
Yeah.
people to go do.
Because like I've never been over there, but I can't help but be curious. I'd like to see those videos. You know what I mean?
Well, you have
Well,
to
Just saying.
you have to sanitize.
I've seen the pictures, but
Yeah.
You have to sanitize because the American public could not really they couldn't really stand the face of battle,
Right.
Because it ain't like World War II or Vietnam. Like Vietnam, by God, at the height of the Vietnam War, the United States was taking 628 casualties a week. You cannot show today's population would never stand for that.
yeah.
No, there's
Absolutely
no way.
not. Absolutely not.
There's no way.
Anything short of a World War II Pearl Harbor scenario, and then maybe not.
Yeah.
You know, because no, we're not that kind of person.
I don't think they would have stood for it back then if they'd have seen it.
Yeah. But maybe people should see that kind of stuff.
They need
now,
to.
You
Yeah.
know? Not that like, and when you say I don't want to see it, like, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I'm like, ooh, I just want to see this. You know,
No, I'm
it's
not
not
saying-
like that.
yeah.
It's like it's an experience that is shared by the world only. But the problem is, everybody in the world is affected by it, but only a small number actually see it.
True.
You know what I'm saying? So like, but then a large number of people who've never seen it are involved in the decisions that involve going to these wars. So
Exactly.
maybe
Yeah.
everybody should see it so they know what they're getting their
heard
fellow
that.
man into. You know?
Exactly. I heard that this quote from some show, some news show. People that were all pro-war for Iraq were the same people that avoided the draft and combat like it was the plague in the 60s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, people who avoided the draft then are the most pro-war people now.
What do they call it? Chicken hawks?
Chicken hawks, yeah.
Yeah.
Chicken hawks.
Well, I mean, not to get too deep in a philosophical point, but the only there was a movie not a long time ago, a while back, called Troy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
that had
Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
And one of the best line that came out of that movie, and maybe the best line that came out of any movie that year, is that war is old men talking and young men dying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And until people get the second part of that down, we're just going to keep going to war.
Yeah.
You know, and for what, and for why, and for how, and yeah, you know what? Maybe everyone should. No, not maybe. Maybe you should see some of that footage, and I think everyone needs to see it. We need to quit sanitizing it. But the reason that they won't quit sanitizing it is because the military has control of everything that comes out of that area, and they don't want to lose support.
Yeah.
Which was what happened.
It would erode. Yeah, yeah, it would erode. The support for any war would erode so quick. People would just have to sit down at a table and talk.
Yeah.
And who wants to do that?
That's why it's good that people, will talk about it some now. Where it used to be like the World War II vets that came back.
Yeah.
Well, I think some of the Vietnam guys would talk about it. So it was one of the first times that it was more
It was a
out in the
different
open. But
different culture. Now, I think with today's generation, today's population, there's no way I think was it only 1 point at this time, only 1.1 of 1% of people in America today have ever even been in the military.
Yeah.
Something
Yeah,
like that.
it's something incredible. I mean, when you figure there's 350 million people in the
Yeah.
country,
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
it's an incredibly small number of people that have
Exactly.
actually been in the
I think-
military, and even fewer of those have seen action.
Yeah.
And I think it's important for people who, at least from my perspective, who've never seen action, if they know people who have, they like talk about it. You know,
Yeah.
like you should be interested in, like, this is something that dramatically affects your life. Like, know what people are getting into.
I saw this painting on
situation.
in Balad at the Chow Hall on a bunker. It said the Army and Marine Corps at war, America's at the beach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's not World War II. You're not sitting there. People weren't back here wondering, where's the next gallon of gas coming from? It's rationed. No. Life went on as usual.
You forget about it.
Yeah,
you know? It's so
exactly.
easy,
Yeah.
Because it's not the big Pearl Harbor World War II scenario. So,
I mean, and in a lot of ways, it has become sanitized. War itself
yes.
has become sanitized. I was part of what they call what the current common term for is drone You know, I said earlier I was in the most schizophrenic unit in the United States Marine Corps. There were two of us that were this schizophrenic. I was with the UAV squadron on Cherry Point, VMU 2. And we flew drones. Now, our drones weren't armed. They were surveillance drones. But, you know, when you can sit in, you know, Colorado watching a live video feed, line up a crosshair, push a button, log off of your station, go home and eat mac and cheese with your wife, it's a pretty darn sanitized war.
Yeah.
You know, and so in a lot of ways, war has become sanitized, and I think that's one of the reasons that we as Americans can be so gung-ho about it.
Yeah.
Is because we have the technology that our, you know, battlefield casualties between World War II and whatever this thing you want to call it in the desert is right now, like, there's no comparison. Numbers are percentage-wise of people coming back.
No.
Because we can just sit somewhere and push a button. I mean, you got to have guys on the ground. I was on the ground. I was, you know, my boots were sandy. But you know, there's a lot less people in harm, a lot less Americans in harm's way, and I think that really affects the decision-making process.
Yeah, you don't need those kind of people or the support element. You don't need all that. As many as you used to in the past.
Yeah, exactly.
So
So you're not putting nearly as many people in harm's way anymore.
So now it's more, like you said, it's more easy to send them there. Like that guy that one of the air medal. He was one of these guys that flew drones.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
And he won the air medal. And I heard one of the guy from McDonnell Douglas, he was commenting that it was so real time that the guy sitting back at Nellis Air Force Base flying it, and he's seeing flak bursts come up over Afghanistan. The guy was like ducking. In his
Yeah, I do that when I play Mario too.
I mean, yeah, I get how like a guy flying a drone, he's like killing people from Colorado. Like, that would mess with your head.
Yeah.
But you would think that there'd be a different type of medal that you get for that. You know what I mean?
PowerPoint, 2,000 hours.
Yeah.
My patch.
I mean, like, how would you feel if you were a pilot, like a real pilot,
actually over Afghanistan.
on a
you
machine
don't get an
gun.
air service. You're not a pilot. You're a hobbyist. Coincidentally, that's what we used to tell the guys that flew the drones at MVMU too.
And they got the flight suits. And
Oh, yeah,
all
no,
that.
they had their little flight suits and their little patches out there with their. And I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. The guy that landed. If you're from PMU2 and you're hearing this, yeah, whatever, deal. So the dude out there landing it literally has what looks like a. I'm not kidding you. That's what they landed the thing with. It was a remote, a model airplane remote control.
PS4 controller.
No, it was the one with the sticks. You know what I mean? Like when you see the guy out there flying his remote control airplane, that's what the dude had in his hands. And that's what he landed that plane with. But they wanted to be called pilots, and they had the little flight suits on. I'm like, dude, you can do this in Bermuda shorts and a Hawaiian t-shirt. No, that's not.
That's what I'll be doing. T-shirt, shorts.
What they need to do is they probably have this. They have like little mini Apache helicopter drones, and have like a whole fleet of them coming in. They're like, "Oh God, here they come!" But they don't realize how small they are.
Funny side note: the UAV that my unit flew was called the Pioneer. And the first ever military use of a Pioneer was actually by Israel. And they flew them into southern Lebanon to absorb SAM missiles because the Lebanese didn't know they had them. And so they flew them into Lebanon. And Lebanon thought that there was literally like 5 wings of bombers coming over because they saw all these aircraft. And so they like launched all their SAM missiles and blew up all the freaking drones. And then the real planes came in behind and just destroyed everything. But yeah, the first thing they ever did with the plane that we used, they were decoys.
That's funny because sometimes you see them in the sky, you don't know. Really tell how big they are. You don't know how far up they are. No reference.
Well, that was not to get too far off on whatever, but everybody wanted to make fun of, and this kind of actually goes back to the sanitized war. This actually has a relevance here. It's well known that in Desert Storm, the Iraqis were surrendering to these surveillance drones.
Yeah.
And we all joking, ha, 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 isn't that funny? Look at them surrendering to surveillance drones. He. That surveillance drone is spotting for something.
Yeah.
It's a remote control drone without a person in it that's going to call fire from 20 miles off the coast and rain down death and hell on top of you, I'd be surrendering to it too.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do. Once that drone spots you, what are you going to do? Shoot the shell as it's coming in? No, we're done. We're done. Take off your T-shirt. Let's get this thing going.
It doesn't matter if you shoot the drone.
Yeah, exactly. You're spotted. And so, they were surrendering to drones. Not because they were too stupid to know what a drone was. They didn't know there was a person inside there. Yeah, they did. They knew there wasn't a person inside there, but they knew what followed 2 minutes later.
Right.
Which another reason they don't like us is because they feel like we're cowards because we don't fight them man to man.
Yeah,
we
don't. Yeah,
we hide. There's a mindset that Americans hide behind their technology, which we do.
Yeah, we do.
Why not? I mean, that's what
it's for, right?
That's why we developed it.
So I don't have to come out there.
Yeah, exactly.
You can say that about any level of technology.
Yeah. I could build a fire in my kitchen, but I'm just going to flip on the stove. It's right here. I got a microwave too. Just popcorn. So
yeah. Why do I need to get all dusty and dirty? I'll just fly this drone over there.
Drone from Colorado and then go eat some mac and cheese.
There you go. Hey.
Yeah, but again, that the cold hard fact of that is that even though we have sanitized it over here, they're having to deal with it over there. And I think not having a war, another thing that, and I don't wish this on America in any way, shape, form, or fashion. We haven't had a war on American soil since 1860.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The 1860s was the last time any civilian American saw what war actually looks like.
Yeah.
And in a heavy battle, I got some news for you, boys and girls. It ain't changed much. Since the Civil War. Yeah, the guns are quicker, and we wear body armor.
There's no horses.
Yeah, there's no horses, but the wounds look the same.
Yeah,
and the screams sound the same.
Worse even. Yeah.
Yeah, and the smell of people dying around you and the sounds that they make are the exact same as they were in the Civil War, and I just don't think that Americans realize what that is and what war actually is, because I cannot believe that I live in a country of people who can understand the intimacy of what war does and how war really is when you're in the middle of it and still think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do they want to know what the truth is?
They don't want to know.
No.
They don't want to know. They want to, they want to support the troops.
And then go to Walmart.
Those little yellow ribbons on the back of your car.
I got a yellow ribbon on my car. Oh, that's great. That's a cute yellow ribbon. I hope it eats all the paint.
Yeah, but wait, you voted to send me here.
Yeah, you voted. Support the troops. I tell you what, you want to support me? Get me home.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the support I need, and I'm not a you know what? Oh well, and I people. Oh well, that's just cowardly. No, it's not. I don't want to be here. Okay. Nobody wants to be here.
No one in their right mind. I'll say this: no one in their right mind wants to go to combat. Nobody in their right mind. There's something wrong with you if you want to go.
Yeah.
You go because it's your job. It's your duty. It's what you're in the army to do.
Yeah, you feel like it's necessary.
Exactly, it's part of the job. And then even then, whatever you have to do, it's just business.
Right.
But if you're like wanting to go, something wrong with you.
Yeah, if you're wanting to go, no one ever needs to hand you let you near a weapon. Like if you really want to go to war, you just don't need to be handling firearms at all. Maybe not even sharp sticks.
Unless maybe it's like a real clear battle line. It's like, here, take this. Just do what you want to do. Just go that
way. Point the hollow end that direction and pull this little switchy thing on the bottom. No, don't look left or right. Just keep going.
Yeah.
In all honesty, they're out there though.
No, they're out there.
This individual in Somalia. Every morning woke up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. In the Marines, we called them Stay Platoon. Those are the boys that like killing people, and they had their own little section of the base. Like that's, they kind of kept to themselves over there, and everybody was good with it.
I could see, though, in certain wars where you'd almost need people like that.
Someone else said the same thing.
Yeah.
That's the kind of guy that you want out there. Yes and no.
Yeah.
Not in today's world.
It probably depends on, I bet you there's two types. I can see how there's like the kind of like, never had the courage to be a real serial killer type.
Now, on the other hand, I ain't got to worry about getting caught. Back in the States, I'd have got 10 to 20.
Yeah.
Got me a medal now.
Yeah. And then there's like the type where it's kind of like just kind of how they deal with it or something, maybe. I can see that. Maybe that's just kind of their take on it. And then maybe they can turn it off at some point. Or maybe they don't ever, but that's just how they...
This last trip, the chain of command was always on the lookout for people that enjoy what you were doing. You couldn't, if it was just business, you did your job, yes, but if it was obvious that you enjoyed what you were doing, you were out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's a danger. That's a war crime waiting to happen.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a massacre waiting to go down.
Yeah.
So no, you have to win in a certain way. It's not just winning, it's how you win. And you got to do the right thing the right way. Geneva Convention, all that. And it's not what people think.
Yeah, I've heard crazy stories. A lot of guys who come back to the war. I've run across a lot of vets, in the past several years. One guy told me that it was like a story that was relayed. It was like his best friend, like in high school, was in Iraq. Who knows if it's true? I mean, it seemed like it. I mean, the guy seemed like a credible guy. So his best friend was in Iraq, and he said that when he was over there, like his captain or whoever, someone was ahead of him in charge, posed for a picture in front of a dead guy. I think I told you about this. A dead Iraqi enemy, and had the guy's heart on a fork and acted like he was eating it, and posed for a picture of this.
You're done.
Yeah, if that got out at all, he was done. But there are those people that are like that. It was one of the things, and it changes when you're there. It changes your mindset. We went to a ROE briefing, rules of engagement briefing, because there's. But it was a guy giving a brief, and one of the questions he asked was, "All right, you're pinned down. There's enemy combatants, 100 yards that way, laying down fire. You're pinned back here, and they don't know you. They're firing, but they don't know where you are. It's suppressing fire. There's a 12-year-old girl 50 yards away giving up your position. What do you do?" To a man, every Marine in that tent said, "You shoot the little girl."
Yeah.
And I walked, and I was one of them. I was like, "You shoot the girl. You shoot the girl."
Yeah.
And I walked out of that tent and realized I just logically said and meant that I would put a round on a 12-year-old girl in that situation. And to let that sink in for just a second in that scenario was not an option. But I still to this day think about the fact that I would have put a round on a 12-year-old girl if I had to.
You'll do what you have to.
Yeah,
I mean,
you'll do what you have to.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
I'm not glorifying. I'm not saying I'm some sort of badass because I would have shot a 12-year-old girl. It's the exact opposite of that. It bothers me to this day that in that situation, in that war, in that country, that was the most logical, and that was the thing I would have done.
There's even a domestic example of that. Like, there's kids that get recruited into gangs, and they're like 8, 9 years old.
Yeah.
You could be faced with some little 8, 9-year-old kid pointing a gun at you, trying to rob you.
Yeah.
You don't.
It
do
sucks.
what you have to.
It sucks, but if it's me or him,
This individual, and the one thing in Iraq on convoy, what they'll do to get you to stop, so they put a rocket into you, is that they'll let kids walk out in the road. And when I initially got there, the Americans will stop, and then as soon as you did, hit you.
Yeah.
So now it became the problem. Either you got around him or her before they got out in the road, or you had the choice to run them over.
Yeah.
A lot of guys would just no problem run them over.
Wow.
So it's not good.
But eventually, I guess they learn that they don't stop.
Well, the bad guys, the bad guys didn't. It was nothing to them. See, one thing,
they didn't matter.
It's
They
hard to
didn't
understand. In some parts of the world, children are a burden.
Yeah.
Until they get up to where they can, contribute to the family, a child is a burden, and that's the way in these places where they look at it. But and that's the bad guys. That's the way they saw it. Hey, I'm going to send this kid out there to stop that convoy so I can fire an RPG at him.
Yeah.
So it's harsh, but it's also realistic.
Yeah.
So
and even if you're a decent person going in, and I'm not being flippant here at all, but even if you're a decent person going in, what does that do to your psyche after the 6th or 7th or 8th or 25th kids you've got to hit?
Yeah.
Because if you stop, your entire convoy dies.
Yeah. You wonder, this is not the thing that a good person would do.
Yes.
Am I a good person?
Yeah.
Could I still be a good person?
Am I still this troop worth supporting now?
Yeah.
I've run over, more kids than I can count because I can't stop this convoy because we'll all die if I do.
Yeah.
And then you come home and question that probably every day of your life.
Yeah. It's a perspective thing.
It's a perspective thing. But again, this all falls underneath, Americans just not understanding, civilian Americans, just not understanding what the horrors of war is, and a bunch of draft dodgers voting to send everybody overseas.
and then like in Vietnam, they come back, they blame the guys, the soldiers.
Because that's easy to do. That's easy.
That's the easiest thing to do.
It's easier than challenging your government and their policies.
Yeah. And it's good to see now that people have gone after the government.
They've made that switch.
They've made that switch because you know what? A lot of these kids that go in there, that sign up, that walk down to these recruiting stations and put their name on the line, they want to defend their country and they love their country and they think America's the greatest thing on the face of the planet. It is, but to quote Dennis Miller at this point, that's kind of like being valedictorian of summer school. But they love their country, and I got nothing but respect for these kids that go down there and sign up to join these forces. But we need to understand what we're sending our kids out there to do.
Yeah, I think that's
across the board, and what it's going to do to them when they get home.
Yeah,
the aftercare.
Yeah, No, that's one of the things that that just boggles my mind is how we can spend billions of dollars on these wars, billions of dollars to kill people and maim people and cause psychological damage the world over to our own people, and then when they come home,
expect them to be fine and assimilate back into the real world.
Yeah, and if they don't, well, that's just too bad. You can go live on the street if you can't figure out how to do anything else in your life. If you can afford several $1 billion to wage a war, you can afford whatever it takes to take care of the people that went and wage that war for you when they get home.
And not just give it lip service.
Yeah, not just give it lip service. Yeah. We support the troops. Do you? Then why do you keep cutting benefits every chance you get? Why do you keep cutting care every chance you get? Why do you keep gutting the VA every chance you get? You lack the courage of your convictions if you think that that's the way you support troops. You don't support troops. They support war. And troops are just a way to get that war taken care of. Because if they supported the troops, they take care of them better.
Yeah. Well, we're getting close on time. Let's things just got real for a little bit.
Sorry about that, guys.
No, it's all good.
All that depth.
No, it's good stuff, man. I'm glad you guys got into it because that's something that people do need to hear. You know what I mean? Like there's veterans that listen to this show, but a lot of them probably aren't. And people need to hear that. I like to, I've never been to war, but I'm like a military enthusiast. Like the concept intrigues me. I like guns and weapons and the idea of defense, all that stuff. The idea intrigues me, and I like to take that information and try to do what I can within my head and try to give it to other people who are not vets and hear it straight from the horse's mouth. Just it's an interesting situation, to me, and it should be to more people because eventually maybe we can figure out a way to. I don't know if we can ever stop war, but we just need to think
only as an
it.
absolute necessity. Absolute.
Yeah. And let's bring this bad boy full circle real quick. War, anything to do with taking another human's life, whether it be a war in a foreign country, whether it be having to pull out your pistol on Main Street, violence and death have always got to be your absolute last resort. If there's any way around it, then your mindset has to be, let's try this first.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Because at the end of it all, especially with war, people start out talking. Then they get the arguing. Then there's a war. And then they get back to arguing. And then at the very, very end of it all, you still got to sit down and talk it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. All right. It's just a cycle. It doesn't.
It's a cycle. And the only thing, you start out talking and you end up talking, and there's a lot of death and destruction in the middle. Why couldn't we just kept talking?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like you got to figure out who's tougher.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you probably just establish what you already knew anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's because some people don't want to talk.
Yeah. Well, there's always that. There's always the fanatics out there that don't want to talk. But at the end, it always ends up. You just end up talking anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And the one of the saddest things, obviously, other than the just one of the many sad things about war is the fact that you got all these people fighting against each other that really don't necessarily hate each other on an individual level.
No.
That's the thing that's crazy.
No, war requires collectivism.
Yeah, definitely.
It requires you to turn the person that you're trying to kill into a two-dimensional thing.
Yeah.
Because if you think for a second about the depth of the person that you're firing around at, does he have kids? Does he have a wife? Does he have a mom somewhere that cares about him? I know I do.
Yeah, it has to be
dehumanize
unpersonified.
Yeah. Once you humanize the enemy, well, let's see if we can't work
it's
this
a target,
out some other way.
or whatever.
Yeah, it has to be a target. It has to be an enemy combatant. It has to be enemy force. It has to be a hostile.
Yeah.
You have to give it some term that makes it less than human.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, it's not nearly as easy to pull that trigger.
Yeah, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. That might be, the way that just on the street, somebody pulls a gun or tries to kill you or something like that. You can't think about that stuff either. This is just a threat, and this is a physical object standing in front of me that is posing a threat to me, and I have to do what I can to stop it. You know?
But that's a threat to my person or a threat to someone I care about.
It's true. It is more personal.
It's much more personal. I mean, when you're talking about I'm stuck in this godforsaken desert because somebody that won a popularity contest sent me here.
Yeah.
You know, let's face it, the presidency's a popularity contest, boys and girls.
And you, by default, lost the popularity.
Yeah, exactly. So somebody thought he was cool, and now I'm stuck in the desert. You know, but so at that point, you know, you're just shooting at somebody that because you're told to, and they're shooting at you because they were told to, and then you know, so they have to be something less than human, or you just can't pull that trigger anymore.
Yeah. Okay, the new Star Wars movie. We got to close on that.
Oh yes,
dude, don't go near that.
Everything isn't hand grenades and
yeah.
death and war.
That's right. There's Star
I don't know.
Wars.
Have you seen the previews for the new Star Wars movie?
Hey, dude. Hey.
No, I'm actually so looking forward to the new Star Wars movie. I ran across an article on Facebook the other day. Was talking about like 17 things that aren't in the movies, and I'm like,
where's Luke?
That's the big question. Some people say he's the new bad guy.
No, he is not Kylo Ren. He actually there's a picture of him holding up a piece of paper that says Luke Skywalker is not Kylo Ren. Like it became such a thing on the internet. Like he was like, I'm not. No, Kylo Ren is somebody different. But
so that's gonna be a big problem solved.
Yeah.
But I've started watching like the Clone Wars Disney cartoon.
Oh yeah,
great stuff. Great.
Yeah, it is. It's actually pretty good.
They should make movies on that.
Yeah, because I'm trying to get all of the backstory, before I go in. Because when Disney executed all of the old canon and started their new stuff, there's not as much to read anymore. I can be caught up in about a year.
Yeah,
I'm really looking forward to it.
I really feel like they're aware of what people hated about the prequels.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They haven't just come out and said, like, the prequel sucked, it won't be like that. But just reading between the lines, the things that they're saying about the new movie, you really feel like they're trying to convey that to people. Like, we get it. We get why you didn't like the prequels.
You know why I didn't like the
fix
prequels? Because George Lucas was in charge of them.
Yeah, I know.
I'll throw that out there right now.
Yeah, I didn't understand that when I was a kid. But,
no, George, my fiance and I talk about this all the time. Like, the reason Star Wars became what Star Wars wasn't because of George Lucas. It was because of a bunch of people got a hold of his world and made it awesome.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then by the time the prequels rolled around, well, George had enough power and creative genius to get his way, and he gave us Jar Jar. He gave us a character a kind of cool character. He gave us a character named Dexter Jetser.
Dexter Jetser.
Yes, sir.
Dexter Jetser, the guy, the big, huge, oh Lord, basically was the delicatessen runner. You know what I'm talking about? The big old guy, like with the greasy T-shirt.
That Obi-Wan was talking to.
They told him about the Camino, poison Camino dart thing. Yeah, that's
it. Looked kind of like a human fish, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. If he was a greasy New York deli owner. But I mean, that was the extent. I mean, there were some good
Darth Maul.
There were good moments.
They can't believe they killed him off.
I actually was reading one of those things that 17 things you don't know. Somebody brought him back. He's like the new Boba Fett. He somehow survived that. He shows up somewhere else later on with like a set of bionic legs.
When he opened that door open, he took on Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
Dude,
he was awesome. He was awesome. But somebody did actually manage to bring him back.
Of course.
But there was a few interesting things about the prequels. For the most part, it was like, and Hayden Christensen, I just can't get into his acting.
No, it's like Pinocchio became a Jedi. That's pretty much what happened. I mean, that dude, if he was any more wooden, they would have had like to buff the knot marks out of his head before filming. Like,
slaughtered him like animals.
Slaughtered them all.
What was her name? Queen Amidala?
Padme.
Padme. She's like, she looked on her face when he was going his rant. Like, this guy is.
He's going. Well, it's not even. It's you realize, except for the women, the Skywalkers are a bunch of whiny little punks.
That's true.
You know what I mean? I was gonna go to Tashi Station to pick up some power converters. I slaughtered them all. Like, it's just, you're the force of darkness in the universe. This dude, really? Oh man, come on.
Chosen one. This guy.
Yeah, the chosen what? No. Yeah. But I mean, there were some, and the story itself is not horrible.
Yeah.
And the line that Padme has when she's in the Senate is, "This is how liberty dies, to thunderous applause." Good line.
Yeah, and
Good
you
line.
saw E.T. in the background clapping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole E.T.'s a Jedi theory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the prequels lacked the ruggedness. Of
Yeah,
the
yeah,
originals.
yeah.
And I think that the reason for that is they were supposed to be part of a golden age. Everything was supposed to
Yeah.
like everything by the time, and I'll give Lucas this. He did do this halfway well. Supposedly by the time episode 4 rolled around, they were pretty much just using all the stuff left over from when there was a galactic
Empire.
alliance.
Yeah,
Well, no, alliance. When the Republic, when it was still a galactic republic, they were still that technology, because everything that was halfway decent, the Empire was sucking up and turning into their own. They, new Star Destroyers, new Death Stars, and new this and new that and new the other. And so what the average person was left to run around with, including the did I do?
This one always coming through.
Did I do that when I did that?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So I think that was the whole point, is that
Yeah.
the technology they had was left over from the Republic, and so it
That
was supposed to be.
but the
good.
look was great.
The look was fantastic.
It looked used. I mean,
It did.
real.
Yeah, no, it was awesome, and that was one of the things that was really, really cool. And I think that's why the first part was so polished, is because it was part of this golden age of the
Right, that makes
Republic
sense,
and things like that. So I'm really interested to see what they do with the 30 or 40 years.
Yeah,
later.
it's supposed to be 30 years after episode 4.
Everything looks really good. I like that scene from the trailer with the Star Destroyer that's down, on the planet
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah.
And all that. It looks really cool. And Millennium
CGI
Falcon,
looks great.
Oh, it does. 'Cause
Oh,
they-
yeah.
supposedly they blended it with practical.
Yeah, there's a lot of practical
Effects.
effects.
Oh,
They
shit.
didn't just
Okay.
not all of it's CGI. A lot of it's practical effects. They wanted to kind of pay homage to that sort of 1970s special
I think
effects.
the way that I think that they did it, like, they showed them. Did you ever see that little documentary that they did about like the making of Star Wars, the new one?
Yeah, it's like 4 or 5 minutes long from
Yeah.
like Comic-Con or E3 or something like that. Yeah.
One thing they were showing is they had a kind of like a blank model, right? Like, let's say it was like a TIE fighter. So it's like a real model of the shape of it, but it's kind of blank. It doesn't have detail.
Yeah.
And they had it like in some sand, and they had like the scene set up. And then they went through and put the detail on it with CGI, so it gives it like some reality,
Yeah.
and, and everything.
One of the things about it, and I'm about to go deep geek. So get ready for this. One of the things I was reading in that article about the I think is kind of cool from once you like, oh, that's neat. They said that the reason, like the Darth Maul and Kylo Ren and all of these sort of Sith, what have become known as Sith Inquisitors, have these fancy sword, these fancy lightsabers, is because they weren't really taught classic lightsaber skills. And so they come up with these crazy double-edged things, or these things with cross hilts. And one of them in the extended universe has built a stun gun into the hilt of his lightsaber. He's a Jedi, but if he gets in trouble, he can stun the guy with it. And so, but the reason they did that is because they didn't learn the classical techniques, the power techniques of actually how to fight with a lightsaber. Well, fast forward to the trailer, and you see Flynn, the stormtrooper that becomes a Jedi. Kylo Ren jumps down and pops his fancy broadsword thing. Well, the saber that Flynn holds up is a classic single-bladed, silver-hilted lightsaber. So it's sort of I don't know enough about the story. I've looked everywhere. They're keeping the actual story itself really hushed up. But I think I'm hoping it's sort of like a resurgence of the Force and the Jedi Order, and that coming back. And
they wiped out, before.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that was kind of cool, because I just read that and I was watching the trailer. I was like, oh, that's a classic saber. Like somebody must have taught him.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if Luke's the new Yoda.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right. I can buy that. Okay.
Yeah, like he's
all right,
somewhere,
yeah.
like
Yeah.
he's hermited out, like the Force doesn't really exist anymore, and now all of a sudden Sith
Got like
boy.
that little hut and everything.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe he went back to Dagobah. Who knows? Just chilling, like, you know what? It wasn't so bad. It's good for my skin. But
Who's that new R2?
What's it? BB2?
Oh,
The basketball,
BB
the
something,
talking
yeah.
basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually saw a funny comic about that, and I'll do my best to describe it. But it was the scene from when R2-D2's on the Death Star, and he's going to link up with the Death Star, and he takes that little probe and sticks it in, and it spins back and forth. And the Death Star's like, I don't know about this. Like, I don't know if this would ever work out. I mean, I'm an Imperial space station. You're a rebel droid. And then she's like, oh, go ahead. Nobody will know. And then it's a picture of the little the new R2-D2 rolling ball thing spinning by. It's like half Death Star, half R2-D2.
Wait, what? Does R2 make an appearance? Is he gone?
I think
R2's in there.
R2's in there.
What about C-3PO?
Yeah, I saw
Yeah,
them.
C-3PO's in there. He's in the trailer.
Chewie and Han. Yeah.
Well, yeah, everybody. Now Han he's struggling. He's about 75 now.
Yeah, but well, Peter I'm surprised they got Peter Mayhew to actually be Chewbacca. And here's
He's what, 80 now? Eh?
It's
well,
really
I go to, again, deep geek. I go to Dragon Con every year. I've gone every year for the last 8 except for one, and Peter Mayhew's usually there. He was a really nice guy. You know, he'll sit and talk
Gentle
to you.
Giant, yeah.
Yeah, he's just a really good guy. But because he's so tall and so old, he can barely walk.
Oh, okay.
So I don't. I am so psyched and so excited that Peter Mayhew's Chewbacca. I think it's awesome. It actually makes me want to tear up a little bit. But I don't know how they did it because I know the guy can't walk that well. And
They were wondering because everybody else got a few miles on him now.
Yeah.
What about
cortisone
Chewie?
shot, maybe.
yeah, close in on the shots, much closer in on the
They
shots.
were saying that everybody
No, I
was
said
old.
cortisone to give him a
Oh,
cortisone.
yeah, steroid injection.
Everybody was old except Chewie. Well, of course, the mythology. You know,
Yeah, Chewie. The Wookiees live a whole lot longer.
they live like 400 years.
400 or
and
500, yeah.
Chewie was a young fellow of only 200 when the thing first started, so he's still in his prime. By God.
Yeah.
Have you
that's right.
read the thing online? I did watch the podcast that you sent me where you guys were talking before about Jar Jar being a drunken Sith. No. But there was actually a pretty cool another fan theory that R2-D2 and Chewbacca were actually the heads of the rebellion.
Huh. That's interesting.
Yeah, no, it's actually, but you know what? When you read, it's not nearly as far-fetched and stupid as the Drunken Master. But you read through it and you're like, well,
Yeah.
because and I've got to go back and watch the second episode, but apparently the Millennium Falcon's in episode 2.
It is.
It's like a flyover scene, like you
Oh,
see
yeah,
it in
yeah. I
Coruscant.
remember that. Yeah.
And they're like, well, you know, Chewie was young. Chewie obviously knows Yoda. So when this all went down, like Chewie left and became sort of this. The first person he sort of hooked up with was Lando as a smuggler, and so he was able to fly all over the galaxy, passing messages back and forth to seedy underworld contacts with the Rebel Alliance.
Oh, yeah.
And then Lando got to the point he wanted to settle down, so Chewie made it so that Han would win the Millennium Falcon in a card game, and he could continue doing it.
Right.
And then R2, factors in all these different ways. It's actually not a horrible fan theory. It's kind of like, you know what? I could actually have that be canon and be totally cool with it. So yeah, if you get a chance to look it up, just search for R2-D2 Rebel Leader.
Huh. I'll have to look
And,
it
and,
up.
By the
and
way,
take a quick look at it.
Who fired first, Guido or Han?
Han.
Oh,
Okay, all right. I've been asking.
No,
I
Han
watched it 100 times.
Han
Like,
fired first.
Oh, yeah. It makes sense. Yeah.
No, Han totally fired first. Yeah.
My secret desire about Star Wars is that like the story of Star Wars is actually a historical record from like an alien planet.
Oh no, it's totally cool. No, dude, I would totally dig that.
Oh, man.
Totally.
And
That would be awesome.
And like George Lucas, they were like an alien like came to him and they're like, look, this is our historical record. Our planet has died. We need someone to carry on the story. And he was like, all right. Yeah. That would explain why he's an idiot. So,
And then after Jar Jar Binks, they took it away from him and gave it to Disney. We don't get to tell our story anymore. We're giving it to these guys.
yeah.
There'll be a lot of lens flare, but we're willing to risk it.
Oh man. All right. Yeah. That camera probably it's still on, but
Still on,
all right.
okay, all right.
Yeah, it's definitely gotta probably call it quits now. But man, this has been a lot of fun. We gotta do this again.
No, dude, this has been awesome. I've really enjoyed myself.
We
Yeah,
definitely
this has
got to
been
do
awesome.
this. Definitely this again for sure, man.
Yeah. No,
All right,
I'd love
well,
to come back.
appreciate you coming on, man.
No problem
And,
at all. Again, love to do it again sometime.
happy to be here
Yeah,
before you ask.
So, how do you feel about being here?
I'm glad to be here, by God. Man.
Yeah.
Glad to be here.
Oh yeah, and also
Yeah. There's this
also
monster.
Yes. That's from Star Wars collection, right?
yeah.
You know what? It kind of does look like something. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll close on just the awesomeness of this.
Just, I'm not even going to tell you about it. Just bask. Just bask in the image.
Yeah, there's a video of it, so they've seen it.
Dude, you gotta get a Imperial emblem on the side of it.
Oh,
Dude.
I got to do that. Or maybe the
Did you
rebel.
not see the T-shirt?
I know. That's why I said that. That's why I said that.
I got to do it. All right, one like Imperial on one side and the rebel on the other side.
That's on the other.
It's confused, you know.
Which side you shoulder on depends on where you're at in the combat.
Yeah.
No, totally on your side.
Yeah. All right, it's been great. We'll do it again.
All right, sounds
Later.
good. Later, guys.